The pure campus belle rushed to my door despite the pouring rain, just to spend the night at my place, but I turned her down. The next day, she died a tragic death in the narrow alley near my house. Ever since then, I've been consumed by regret. After getting into the police academy, I frantically hunted for the real killer, but the heavy rain had washed away all the evidence. For 10 whole years, I couldn't find a single clue, but a sudden lightning strike brought me back to this fateful crossroads. I heard your parents are away on business. You're the only one home. Could you let me stay at your place for a few days? I can do chores to make up for it. I looked at the person in front of me. Instinctively, I reached out to touch her. Byway instinctively tried to dodge, but since she was asking for help, she gritted her teeth and stood still. A cool sensation spread from my fingertips. Her slight trembling reaction told me clearly that she was still alive. I've really come back. Sorry. Byway stepped back in panic. She slipped and fell backward. With quick reflexes, I grabbed her waist and pulled her right into my arms. Amidst the pouring rain, a moment of silence fell between us. She froze in my arms, not daring to move. I quickly let go and stepped back to the edge of the light.
You looked so cold.
So I instinctively wanted to give you some warmth.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I stepped aside and invited her in. Looking at her pale, bloodless face, my mind couldn't help but race. In my past life, after the killer committed this crime in Shanghai City, he vanished without a trace. This time, not only do I have to save her, but I also have to use my years of criminal investigation experience to go to the crime scene tonight and catch the killer red-handed. Byway stood anxiously at the entrance, nervously wringing the hem of her shirt. Seeing me turn around to get slippers, she became even more flustered. My socks are wet. They'll get your slippers dirty. I can just walk in barefoot. I'll mop the floor for you later. Being in the same room with a guy late at night, while completely soaked, put her in a state of extreme unease. She dug her nails deep into her palms, forcing herself to stay calm. Taking advantage of me turning my back, she quickly glanced around the room until she saw the hot cup of tea on the table and the messy cardboard boxes. Only then did her tense back relax a little. Here is a towel for your hair. If you don't mind, use this first. Could I borrow some clothes too? My clothes are a bit wet. Only then did I notice she was clutching her soaked shirt tightly. You have to change anyway. Why don't you take a hot shower? Otherwise, you'll catch a cold. There is no shower in the guest bathroom. Use the bathroom in my room. Go run the hot water. Hearing she had to shower in my room, Byway shyly lowered her head and gave a soft murmur of agreement. The sound of running water echoed from the bathroom. Byway watched my busy back, finally gathering her courage.
Just call me by my name.
You want to ask why I haven't asked for your reason for coming here, right? Byway looked up in surprise. Her eyes full of curiosity, she nodded. A beautiful girl like you, knocking on a door in the pouring rain asking to stay. Must have a compelling reason. If it's not convenient to talk about, pressing you for answers would be rude. Hearing these words, Byway's eyes grew red. I finished adjusting the water temperature, stood up, and slowly walked over to her. Suddenly, I placed my hand on the wall next to her ear, trapping her in my embrace. I'm not worried about you having any ulterior motives, but aren't you afraid that by staying here, I might have bad intentions toward you? Byway leaned against the wall and gently bit her lip. Feeling a surge of warmth spread through her body. I trust you. Her beautiful eyes boldly looked straight into mine. This answer completely shut down any room for me to probe further. Thinking about the important thing I had to do tonight, I smiled and pulled my hand back. Go take your shower. Here are some clothes to change into. With your figure, this outfit can easily be worn as a dress. Just wear it for now instead of your clothes. Put yours in the washing machine and dryer. They'll dry quickly.
Thank you.
Byway turned and went into the bathroom. Thank you. Half of it was for letting her stay. The other half was for my understanding and tolerance. Hearing the sound of water from the bathroom, I smiled, turned around, and left the bedroom to make some ginger tea. A moment later, the bathroom door opened. Byway stepped out wearing a baggy hoodie. Her cheeks were flushed a faint pink from the steam, revealing the fair skin above her knees. I've left the slippers out for you. Byway slipped into the warm, fluffy slippers. The shyness in her heart faded quite a bit. As soon as she stepped out of the bedroom, she smelled the warm, sweet aroma of honey ginger tea. I brought the mug over. My eyes swept over the loose collar of her hoodie. My Adam's apple bobbed slightly. Come here and drink some ginger tea. Byway took the mug and took small sips. Do you want me to make you a bowl of noodles? Would that be too much trouble? It'll only take a few minutes. You just sit down first. I'll add 2 eggs. I was just about to stand up when a small hand pulled me back. I know how to fry eggs. Let me help out too.
Walking into the kitchen,
My excellent knife skills completely surprised Byway. On the cutting board very quickly, the tomatoes and ham were neatly sliced. Byway stepped onto a small stool, standing on her tiptoes to reach the egg carton on the top shelf. Following her movement, the hem of the baggy hoodie immediately rode up. I glanced over, and my face instantly turned bright red. Bai Wei seemed to notice my gaze. She hurriedly pulled the hem down. As a result, she lost her balance on the small stool. I quickly reached out from behind to catch her, but my palm accidentally slipped to a place it shouldn't have touched. Her body went soft, and she fell right into my arms. I realized it. The scent of sandalwood mixed with the citrus fragrance of the body wash. Both of us froze on the spot, until the water in the noodle pot boiled over and splashed out, breaking this ambiguous atmosphere. I hurriedly pulled my hands back, stepped back half a pace, and shoved the slotted spoon into her hand. You stir. Get the eggs. As I turned around, I caught a glimpse of my red ears in the mirror. It turns out that all these years, it wasn't that I had no feelings for girls, but rather there hadn't been a second person who could make my heart flutter like this. Bai Wei blushed, lowering her head to stir the noodles. The sizzling sound of the oil perfectly covered up the sound of our pounding hearts. The aroma of tomato noodles quickly filled the kitchen. I brought the noodles to the table, deliberately avoiding her trembling fingertips. Careful, it's hot. Change the channel to whatever you want to watch. The moment the TV lit up, Bai Wei suddenly gripped her chopsticks tightly. On the screen was playing something I had forgotten to change the channel from. It was study material. The images were incredibly steamy. I coughed awkwardly and quickly switched to the TV's movie selection interface, casually clicking on Crayon Shin-chan. I almost forgot. Back then, it was exactly because I was afraid of being caught watching this that I refused to let the campus belle into my house. Fortunately, after so many years of tempering myself, my skin is much thicker now. Without blushing or skipping a beat, I pretended nothing happened and quickly changed the channel. Bai Wei also quickly changed the subject. It turns out your cooking skills are this good. I took a tissue and gently wiped away the small beads of sweat forming on the bridge of her nose. You're sweating. I guess the cold has been driven away. Eat slowly. There's still more in the pot. She focused on eating her noodles, finishing every last bit of the noodles and broth, revealing a look of complete satisfaction. Are you full after just one bowl? Just as she finished speaking, a sudden clap of thunder echoed outside the window. I reflexively looked at the wall clock. 9:57. There is only about half an hour left until the time the crime occurred in my past life. In this life, I absolutely must see the killer's true face. Time is running out. I prepared to head out immediately to get close to the crime scene and investigate. I grabbed a glass of water and a blanket and draped it over her. If you're full, just watch TV in the living room. Wash the dishes when I get back. I'm going out to buy some late-night snacks. Be right back. You're going out in this heavy rain. It's fine. It's very close. As I walked to the door, I suddenly stopped and turned around. I was worried the killer had planned the crime in advance and might even have tailed her and be lurking around here. Remember, before I get back, don't open the door for anyone who rings the bell. I have my keys. I won't ring the bell. Hearing my instructions, Bai Wei nodded obediently like a little kitten, wrapping herself tightly in the wool blanket. As the door closed, looking at the empty room, she curled up on the sofa, quietly waiting for me to return. I opened my black umbrella and stepped into the rain, glancing at my waterproof watch. The time was 21:58. In my past life, the forensic doctor estimated Bai Wei's time of death to be around 10:30. My target tonight is that store on the street that she definitely passed by in my past life. The 24-hour convenience store. In my past life, Bai Wei borrowed an umbrella from the convenience store, ate something, and then headed toward the alley where the crime took place. Even though she's staying at my place tonight, I have to confirm whether the timeline has undergone
a compensatory correction,
causing someone else to die in Bai Wei's place there. I absolutely will not allow this to happen. On the way, I took out my phone to check the home camera. On the screen, Bai Wei was hugging her knees. Sitting on the sofa, watching TV, confirming she was obediently staying home and not wandering around. I quickened my pace. Just as I approached the convenience store, I heard a harsh shout. Next to the dumpster at the entrance of the alley, a skinny figure was cowering. A few thugs were surrounding and beating him, arrogantly demanding to know what he was hiding in his hands. The person pinned to the ground was tightly clutching a light gray handkerchief. A tin box had fallen beside him.
Yezz.
I immediately recognized him as the loner in our class, classmate Yezz, who was often bullied. Hearing my voice, the thugs suddenly turned their heads. In an instant, their faces turned pale. Because my parents had some influence in Shanghai City, these punks were usually very wary of me. I hadn't even lowered my umbrella yet, and they were already fleeing in panic like they'd seen a ghost. Only the sound of rain hitting the tin roof remained in the alley. I squatted down and held the umbrella firmly over Yezz's head. Are you okay? Do you need me to take you to the hospital to get checked out? On his wrist, there was still an old scar from a burn 3 months ago. I reached out to help him up, but he yanked his hand back like he'd been shocked. The tin box hit the wall. A few colored pencils and half a bag of cat food rolled into a mud puddle. Thanks. He lowered his head and picked up his backpack. His soaked bangs hid the teardrop mole at the corner of his eye. I noticed that. Under his left fingernails were dark brown stains, looking like dried blood. It's raining so heavily. You still came out to feed the stray cats. Yeezy gave a vague murmur of response, and suddenly started coughing violently, his thin shoulders trembling in the rain. I took off my jacket and tossed it to him. Put it on! Isn't your mom away on a business trip again? If you get sick again, who's going to take care of your little brother? Right at this moment, a flash went off in my mind. The surveillance footage from my past life, in my past life, Bay Way, outside the convenience store, seemed to have seen something. Before heading toward the alley, seeing Yeezy right now, I instantly realized Bai Wei must have seen Yeezy back then, the scene of him being bullied. My mind quickly skimmed through the details of my past life. If in my past life Bai Wei left the convenience store to stop this bullying, her completely soaked appearance very likely turned these thugs' bullying into harassment. I tried to recall Yeezy's demeanor. On the Monday of my past life, his injuries back then were much worse than they are now. But he didn't have much of a reaction to Bai Wei's death. This proves that, in my past life, it's very likely that he himself risked his life to hold off the thugs. So Bai Wei wouldn't be taken away by them if it wasn't them who did it. Then the real killer is someone else. After some deduction, I immediately locked onto a key piece of information: the murder weapon. On a stormy day like this, whoever brought that deadly small knife out with them is the biggest suspect. Thinking that those three thugs very likely carried knives, I immediately regretted letting them go just now. As for Yeezy, who was covered in injuries, in my past life he managed to live fine until graduation. For now, I'll just have to put him aside. If you're okay, hurry up and go home. I had just lifted my foot to leave, but stopped and glanced at Yeezy's broken umbrella. I pressed the black umbrella in my hand into his. Your umbrella is broken.
Use mine?
I have things to do, so I can't walk you back. Be careful. Hurry home. Without waiting for Yeezy to refuse, I dashed into the pouring rain and disappeared from sight. Because the rain was too heavy. Those three thugs couldn't run far. They were hiding under an awning to escape the rain, cursing and discussing whether they should put a sack over my head and beat me up. But they were afraid of my family's background, so they didn't dare make a move. Just as they were hesitating, I moved at lightning speed and dashed right in front of them. The three thugs jumped in fright, thinking I had come to demand money,
waving their hands and backing away.
Hey, you three friends, let me borrow something. The three of them looked at each other, their eyes full of caution. I'm not borrowing money, I'm borrowing something else. All three looked at me with faces full of suspicion. I stared at them and flashed a harmless smile.
Knives.
The three thugs froze on the spot, clearly not understanding my request. You three run the streets. Don't tell me you go out without even a knife on you. The reverse psychology worked like a charm. The green-haired guy grumpily pulled a butterfly knife from his pocket and flipped it around to show off in front of me. I just glanced at it and immediately confirmed this is absolutely not the fruit knife with the clean cut mentioned in the forensic report. This type is way too flashy. I'll pay $100 for a fruit knife type. A hefty reward. The other two thugs scrambled to pull out their stuff, a multi-purpose Swiss Army knife and a tactical folding knife gleaming with a cold light. Neither of these knives was the murder weapon I was looking for. They're good knives. Too bad, I only brought $100. Forget it. I ignored the thugs' suspicion, who were cursing, feeling like they had been played. I turned right around and dashed back into the freezing rain. These three didn't have the murder weapon I was looking for. This clue was completely a dead end. An intense feeling of anxiety burned in my chest. Actually, the simplest way to solve the case would be to reject Bai Wei like in my past life, then secretly follow her. That way, at the crime scene, I could catch the real killer alive. But having been reborn, the moment I saw her safe and sound, I absolutely couldn't suppress the fluttering in my heart. I'd rather choose to search like finding a needle in a haystack and absolutely never put her life
Eat risk.
even if it's just a tiny bit of risk. I went back to the convenience store to buy an umbrella. The kind clerk handed me a clean towel, telling me to dry the rainwater off my head. I thanked him and wiped off the water, put my phone in a waterproof bag. Then I simulated Bai Wei's movements and pace from my past life when she went out. Once again, I opened the umbrella and stepped into the storm. As soon as I stepped into the rain, the gale almost snapped the umbrella's ribs. I stepped on the mud, and broken glass scattered on the ground, and finally reached the starting point of the camera's blind spot. This was the exact crime scene mentioned over and over in the trace examination report for my past life. My waterproof watch glowed faintly, showing 22:17. The stormy wind kicked up and flipped my umbrella inside out. I decisively tossed the umbrella aside, letting the freezing rain pour straight onto my head. My phone vibrated in the waterproof bag. I leaned against the damp brick wall and opened the home camera. In the warm yellow light, Bai Wei was curled up in the corner of the sofa, rubbing her legs together uneasily, her eyes constantly looking toward the door. That expression carried both expectation and a hint of worry.
Just wait a little longer.
Don't rush. The time reached 22:29. A metallic clinking sound suddenly echoed from the end of the alley. I immediately went on high alert and approached, only to unexpectedly see an acquaintance. Jiang Yan, the notorious bully of Shanghai number 2, high school. Right now he was sitting under the awning of an illegal construction, using a fruit knife to peel an apple. Well, if it isn't goo, in the middle of the night with this heavy wind and rain.
Why are you running out here without an umbrella?
I came out to take care of some business. My umbrella got wrecked by the wind.
What are you doing out here in the middle of the night?
Jiang Yan used the tip of his knife to pick out a shriveled apple from a plastic bag. I knew his bully persona was just a facade. His family was poor, and his mother suffered from severe uremia. Brought some fruit for the old lady. Ended up getting chased back. The edges of his rain boots had anti-slip stickers stuck to them, commonly used in hospital corridors. The blade of the knife carried the mixed scent of disinfectant, characteristic of the ICU. However, my eyes were glued to the fruit knife in his hand. The features of this knife were exactly like the description of the murder weapon in Bai Wei's case.
What are you doing standing in the rain?
Hurry up and get over here. My house is right next door. I'll lend you an umbrella. Just as I stepped under the awning, Jiang Yan's phone suddenly rang frantically. On the other end was the urgent voice of a nurse, saying his mother's blood oxygen had suddenly dropped. Jiang Yan's face instantly changed. The fruit knife splashed into a puddle. He didn't even have time to say a word. He turned and ran like a madman into the storm. I bent down and picked the knife up from the muddy puddle. A cold sensation transmitted through it. After a careful inspection, I completely confirmed that at this time, appearing at this location. The size and style matched perfectly. This was the key murder weapon that killed Bai Wei in my past life. If the murder weapon was accidentally dropped by Jiang Yan, then the real killer is very likely to pass by within the next half hour and pick it up. I took a deep breath and tossed the knife back to where it was. Relying on my years of criminal experience, I backed into the shadows and quietly lay in ambush. The rain poured down in buckets. 22:35. A homeless man reeking of alcohol stumbled and fell under the awning. He kicked over an empty beer can, his mud-caked canvas shoes, stepping heavily on the knife's handle, driving the blade deep into the mud. Then he grabbed his half-empty bottle of booze and staggered away. 22:47. A delivery guy slammed on his brakes to take shelter, accidentally stepped on the knife and took a tumble. He cursed as he scrambled to his feet and kicked the blade into the gap of the drainage ditch. The mud instantly covered the entire knife. The time reached 22:55. The knife was covered in mud. For someone to accidentally spot it would be extremely difficult. From the fateful time of Bai Wei's death in my past life, only a few minutes remained. Finally, a figure in a black raincoat suddenly appeared. The masked dark figure flashed from the end of the alley. He bent down, heading straight for the mud-covered knife, and squatted down. All my muscles instantly tensed like a bowstring the moment he reached out and grabbed the handle. On the wrist, exposed from his sleeve, a horrifying acid burn scar was clearly visible. I suddenly stepped out of the shadows. Thanks to the dim light, I clearly saw the face beneath the raincoat. It turned out to be the famous good guy of Shanghai No. 2, high school. The chemistry teacher, Li Mingyuan. Violent waves surged in my heart. 3 months ago, he was the one who protected a student messing around in the lab, getting himself burned by acid in the process. Afterward, he even gently comforted the student who caused the trouble. He was also famous for being a henpecked husband. Everyone in the area praised him. But if he was the killer, then all the mysteries from my past life could be explained. In my past life, Bai Wei was attacked in the dark alley, but there were no signs of her trying to run away. That was exactly because she also completely trusted this kind-hearted teacher. If Li Mingyuan offered to cover her with his raincoat and take her to his house for his wife to take care of her, in that incredibly helpless situation on a stormy night, Bai Wei definitely wouldn't have had the slightest bit of suspicion. Thinking of this, I felt an immense heartache, but I couldn't act rashly. After all, Li Mingyuan hasn't committed the crime yet. I decided to use my criminal investigation skills to probe his reason for being out late at night. Mr. Li Mingyuan immediately looked up when he saw my soaked appearance. His face showed surprise and concern. Gu Nancheng, why are you so wet? I came out to run an errand and got caught in the rain. Mr. Li, what are you doing out in this heavy rain? I glued my eyes to his expression and sharply caught a fleeting flash of hesitation in his eyes. Nothing. I just came out to buy a pack of cigarettes. He was lying. Li Mingyuan didn't even smoke. Plus, he was a family man that everyone acknowledged. My raincoat is very roomy. Get in here and take shelter from the rain first. I'll take you to my house. Then I'll lend you a raincoat to wear home. He still maintained that kind and approachable demeanor. I nodded blankly and ducked into his raincoat. While squeezing in, I noticed his gaze. Instinctively glanced at the adult vending machine nearby, then quickly pull back, and he put his arm around my shoulder. The whole way, I was in a daze like a soulless corpse. Arriving at his door, Li Mingyuan suddenly pulled out his phone to send a text, then quickly put it away. I forgot my keys.
Wait a moment. Ha! Ha! Ha!
but I clearly felt earlier the bunch of keys hanging at his waist. This was the second time he lied tonight. The suspicion in me kept magnifying. A moment later, the door finally opened. The person who opened the door was Li Mingyuan's wife, also a chemistry teacher at the same school, Shen Qing. She was wearing a silk nightgown, the belt tied loosely. Her cheeks flushed pink. The warm light at the entrance revealed what I caught a glimpse of: a bottle of red wine lying tilted on the living room coffee table, scented candles burning, along with scattered rose petals. The air carried a lingering, intimate scent. Right at this moment, my mind suddenly lit up. All the clues instantly linked together, forming a clear trajectory. Mr. He originally planned to be romantic with his wife tonight, but found out they were out of condoms. So he braved the rain to go buy some. Out of his habit of being a good guy, he casually cleared the trash clogging the drain and happened to pick up that fruit knife. Because he ran into me, he was too embarrassed to go buy the stuff, and he wasn't comfortable leaving me alone. So he brought me back here. As for just now, pretending not to have his keys to send a text, it was just to give his wife, who was wearing a sexy nightgown, time to change clothes. All of his unusual behavior now had a perfectly reasonable explanation.
Why are you so wet?
This is so embarrassing. Hurry and take this towel to dry off.
Thank you, Mrs. Shen.
I took the towel and dried my hair, but the suspicion in my heart turned into an even greater panic. If Hez still that good guy, if his wife was eagerly waiting for him to come home, such a warm-hearted man, would he really harbor evil intentions toward a female student on the street and then murder her and dispose of the body? Shen Qing noticed that Li Mingyuan was still holding the dirty knife in his hand. She asked curiously, "Where did you pick up such a dirty knife?" She asked curiously, "Where did you pick up such a dirty knife?" Picked it up at the drain. It was blocking a lot of trash. I happened to run into Gu Nanqing, so I forgot to throw it away, Li Mingyuan said as he was about to toss the knife into the trash can. But I suddenly realized something wasn't right.
Wait, mister?
Li.
Let me take a look at that knife. Li Mingyuan, puzzled, turned the knife around, pointing the blade inward, and handing the handle out to me. This instinctive action to avoid causing injury once again proved his deep-seated gentleness. I took the fruit knife and observed it closely. My face instantly changed. The light was too dim earlier, so I didn't see it clearly. The blade of this knife actually has a small chip. This was clearly caused by Jiang Yan using it to cut something hard. The forensic report made absolutely no mention of the blade being chipped. The cut marks would have a distinct difference. This means that the real murder weapon is absolutely not this knife. I had completely targeted the wrong thing. I abruptly flipped my wrist and glanced at my watch. It's already 23:00. The real murder weapon is absolutely not this knife. Panic set in my heart. I hurriedly shoved the towel back to Shen Qing. "I'm sorry, mister.
Li.
It's too late. I have to hurry home. I'll borrow your raincoat for now." I shoved the knife handle back into Li Mingyuan's hand, threw on the raincoat, and dashed straight into the pouring rain. I ran for my life back to the crime scene, searching back and forth around the area several times. Occasionally, a passerby would hurry past, but they looked absolutely nothing like a killer who would stop to commit a crime halfway. 23:30. The streets were completely deserted. I took out my phone to check the surveillance. Bai Wei was curled up on the sofa. So sleepy, she was nodding off like a chicken pecking at grain. Nodding off, but still trying to fight it. Sleepiness washed over her, but she still occasionally looked at the door, waiting for me to return. I clenched my fists, decisively took off the raincoat, and continued to loiter around the dark crime scene area until the time past midnight. Still no sign of any suspicious figures. My heart was invaded by a profound sense of helplessness and coldness. Could I have really missed it? If I can't find the killer, then how can Bai Wei's unjust death from my past life ever be avenged? I looked up, letting the pouring rain wash over me, my gaze growing more and more determined. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. I immediately opened the surveillance camera. In the footage, even though Bai Wei was drowsy with sleep, she still endured the fear of being alone. Walking to the door with a face full of anxious worry. "Hello? Hello!" The sudden sound startled her. She hurriedly looked toward the sound coming from the camera.
Gu Nanqing here.
I got held up with something. I'll be right back. If you're sleepy, just go to sleep first. As long as you're okay, that's good. I'm not sleepy yet. I'll wait for you to come back. She forced a gentle smile at the lens. After I promised to head back immediately, she dragged her exhausted body and curled back up in the blanket. Her expression finally looked much more relieved. Looking at the deserted street, I stood in the storm, letting the freezing water pour down on me. This has been my habit for years. Cold water helps my brain sober up quickly. I started frantically recalling everything I encountered tonight. The convenience store clerk.
YZZ.
The 3 thugs. I forced myself to put everyone on the suspect list.
YZZ.
When he was robbed by the thugs, his backpack was emptied out. Not a single dime was found on him, let alone a murder weapon. Rule out the 3 thugs. Even though they had a motive, the types of knives they carried didn't match at all. Rule out the homeless man and the knife the delivery guy stepped on. That wasn't the real murder weapon either. After ruling out all the impossible suspects, my memory rewound. and locked onto one person, who I originally thought was absolutely impossible. Zhang Yan. Because his mother was critically ill, Zhang Yan ran to the hospital and dropped the knife at the scene. But if his mother's condition quickly stabilized, then half an hour is enough for him to run back and forth from the hospital. If on his way back, because he realized he lost his knife, he stopped by a nearby store to buy a new one.
Then what about the fruit knife?
The case file did indeed record that between 22:00 and 23:00 that night, someone braved the rain to buy a fruit knife. And the time he came back, perfectly avoided me and Mr.
Lee.
During the time we went to his house. After piecing the whole thing together, the suspicion on Zhang Yan was instantly magnified infinitely. Verifying this hypothesis is very simple. Right now, I just need to go knock on Zhang Yan's door. If he's home and really did buy a new knife, then the circle of suspicion around him will be completely closed. I followed my memory and approached his house. My heart suddenly tightened. The lights in his house were actually on. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door. The door opened. Zhang Yan was shirtless, with a towel draped over his head. "Boss Gu, what the hell are you doing? It's this late and you're still not home."
What's with looking like a drowned rat?
I stepped into the room. My eyes instantly locked onto a brand new fruit knife on the table. The mysterious person who braved the rain to buy a knife late at night in the case file was actually him. Mr. Lee lent it to me. "Did you just get back?" "Yeah, there was a little issue with my mom earlier. I was in such a rush, I forgot to give you the umbrella."
What are you doing? Not going home this late at night?
"Nothing. Just felt like taking a walk in the rain. You ran off in such a hurry earlier."
You dropped your knife on the ground. Why did you buy a new one?
"Damn it. No wonder I couldn't find it after searching all my pockets."
Where did it drop, mister?
Lee picked it up and threw it in the trash. Whatever then. That knife got a bit chipped from cutting wooden crates anyway. I just happened to be on the way, so I bought a new one. He laughed casually, but my heart felt heavy. The time he got home perfectly matched the time of the crime. Furthermore, he bought the same type of murder weapon. The suspicion simply couldn't be ruled out. I weighed my words and decided to test Zhang Yan directly. We're considered friends, right?
What do you mean considered?
We're all good brothers. Did something happen to you? Just tell your brother straight up. Looking at his righteous demeanor, I looked him straight in the eye. I don't want to see you go to prison for committing a crime one day. Think about the consequences before you do anything. Your mom can't go without someone to take care of her. Don't do anything illegal. Zhang Yan froze. He completely misunderstood my meaning, thinking I had found out about his intentions at school. The secret about selling fake cigarettes. Not only was he not angry, but he was incredibly touched that I braved the rain to advise him. Don't worry. Others might not know how I do things, but don't you know? I won't do it. Seeing him answer so firmly, I stood up and took my leave. Little did I know, this unintentional warning, it made him completely give up the idea of selling fake cigarettes. As I turned my back and walked into the rain, he thumped his chest heroically behind me, swearing a silent oath in his heart. He had decided I was his brother for life. With mixed feelings, I said goodbye to Zhang Yan. I grabbed Mr.
Li's raincoat.
And quietly returned to his door. I set the raincoat down. From inside the house, I could faintly hear some sounds that would make anyone blush and their heart race. I decided not to say anything and disturb them. I walked home through the pouring rain. My mood gradually lightened. If Zhang Yan really was the killer, then right now, he was at least still at a stage where he could be guided on the right path. A stage where his evil thoughts could be erased. I met so many people tonight. For now, no one is a bigger suspect than him. It was past midnight when I got home, with the sound of the door opening. Bai Wei, who had been dozing on the rug, suddenly opened her eyes wide. Seeing that I was back, she immediately broke into a bright smile and quickly ran over. But as soon as she got close, she noticed I was soaked to the bone. "You went to buy late-night snacks. How did you get completely drenched?" "The wind and rain were too strong. My umbrella broke, and the food got blown away too. Looks like you don't have anything to eat. Hurry up and take a hot shower. You'll catch a cold like this." Looking at her worried face, I smiled. "The guest room bed is just a hardboard. It hasn't been set up yet. How about you sleep on the couch for tonight? Or you can sleep with me." "Ill, just sleep on the couch."
Just kidding.
"You take the bed, I'll sleep on the couch. Let me take a shower first. I don't want to soak the freshly mopped floor." Without hesitation, right there in the living room, I stripped off my soaking wet clothes. Hearing the rustle of clothing, Bai Wei subconsciously looked up. The firm lines of my muscles made her heart race. She felt her small face burning hot. Her throat felt like it was stuffed with cotton, unable to make a sound. "I'm going to shower first. I'll call you into the bedroom when I'm done." I didn't notice her strange reaction. I grabbed my wet clothes and walked into the bathroom. Bai Wei nodded mechanically. It wasn't until the sound of running water came from the bathroom that she slumped onto the couch like she had no bones. She pressed the back of her hands against her burning cheeks. I don't know how long it had been. I walked out wrapped in a towel. I was about to call her into the bedroom, but I saw her hugging the blanket like a little kitten, curled up on the couch, fast asleep, breathing with complete peace of mind. I slowly walked over, squatted down, and quietly watched her sleeping face. watching her steady breathing. It still felt surreal, like a dream. As I reached out to brush the hair from her face, a drop of water from my arm happened to fall right onto her slightly parted lips. She licked her lips subconsciously. It startled me, and I quickly pulled my hand back. A clap of thunder echoed outside the window. Bai Wei suddenly turned over, dropping half the blanket. I instinctively reached out to catch it, but ended up touching her warm ankle. I could clearly feel that. Her previously steady breathing had become erratic. Her eyelashes were trembling violently. Her body temperature was gradually rising. She was awake, but keeping her eyes closed. I didn't call her out on it. Instead, I scooped her up along with the blanket. I walked steadily toward the bedroom. The girl in my arms grew more and more tense. I gently laid her down on the bed. I pulled the blanket away and covered her with my own quilt. Then I leaned down close to her ear. My hot breath made her instinctively shrink her neck back. I smiled, then turned and walked out. When the bedroom door closed, Bai Wei opened her eyes wide in the dark. Actually, during those few short steps, from the living room to the bedroom, her mind had completely blanked out. She was tense to the extreme, but she never expected to be met with a gentle goodnight. She grabbed the edge of the quilt and pulled it up to her nose. The quilt still carried a faint scent of body wash. This was the first time in her life she didn't curl herself up into a ball. Her body was completely relaxed. She wrapped herself tightly in the quilt and fell into a deep sleep. Early the next morning, the torrential rain that had poured all night finally stopped. Bai Wei had gotten enough sleep and woke up early. She changed into the clothes that had been dried last night. To fulfill her promise of doing chores to pay for her stay, she was extremely proactive in cleaning my bedroom until it was spotless. But when she quietly stepped out of the room, she suddenly froze in her tracks. I was really too tired last night, with a towel wrapped around my waist. I had covered myself with a blanket and fallen asleep on the couch. Right now, my back was facing her, but the towel that was supposed to be wrapped around me had somehow slipped completely onto the floor. Bai Wei's small face instantly flushed bright red. To distract herself, she skillfully used the ingredients in the fridge to make sandwiches and hot milk. But in her mind, she couldn't help but replay that blush-inducing scene from earlier. Just as Bai Wei brought breakfast to the table, I woke up on the couch, half asleep. I instinctively reached for the headboard to find my holster, but I only touched the cold glass of the coffee table. I suddenly pushed myself up with my left hand. The old wound on my left shoulder from chasing criminals in my memories didn't send a single jolt of pain. I pressed my temples, frowned, and pulled the towel up. The skin before my eyes instantly created a disconnect with my memories. The battle scars on my body were gone, replaced by a youthful, smooth body as good as new. I was completely wide awake now. I really had gone back 10 years in time. I suddenly turned my head to look at the open bedroom door. My heart skipped a beat until I saw her back as she busied herself in the kitchen. Only then did I fall heavily back onto the couch. I let out a long sigh of relief. Thank God it wasn't a dream. She really survived that stormy night. In my past life as a homicide detective, I carried endless guilt and exhaustion on my shoulders. I never enjoyed a single day of my youth. Now, she's still here. My youth has returned too. This time, I'm determined to live a good life. Gyu Nanching, get up and eat. I've got breakfast ready. I don't know if it suits your taste. Bai Wei peeked her head out from the dining room. She called out softly. I sat up and took a deep breath of the aroma. The air was filled with the inviting scent of wheat and milk. Coming right now. I walked toward the dining table. Bai Wei was sitting there quietly, waiting for me. You don't have to wait for me next time.
Just go ahead and eat.
It's fine. I have to wait for you to finish, so I can wash the dishes anyway. Try it and see if you like it. If there's anything that needs improving, I'll fix it next time. With these skills, you could open a shop on the street behind the school. Then I'll collect the money, and you'll be the chef. I used to be pretty hardworking living alone, but living with you like this, I'm afraid I'll be spoiled into a lazy pig.
Ha ha.
Bai Wei cupped her cheeks with both hands. Her smile grew even brighter. I took a bite of the sandwich. The warm fried egg mixed with cheese melted on my tongue. It was incredibly delicious. I pulled out a tissue and casually wiped a smudge of oil off the tip of her nose. Bai Wei's ears instantly turned pink. She shyly lowered her head and stirred her milk. After breakfast, I was about to clear the dishes. I accidentally brushed against her hand as she reached out. Her hand was soft but a little cold. Bai Wei insisted on taking over all the chores. Her movements were extremely quick. She cleaned the kitchen until it was spotless. As soon as she stepped out of the kitchen, she looked around, ready to do more work. I grabbed her small hand and forced her to sit down on the couch.
You don't look so good.
No more working for the next 2 days. I'm the landlord. You have to follow my orders and get some good rest. Otherwise, I'll kick you out. Bai Wei was stunned by my words. She obediently nodded. Go shopping with me later. I'll take you to buy some new clothes. I'll go home and get some clothes. Mentioning going home. Her expression clearly showed some resistance and unease. No need. Let's buy new ones. If you don't have money, put it on my tab. Principal and interest. You'll have to stay here and be my maid long enough to pay it off. If you can't pay it all back, I won't let you leave. Bai Wei naturally heard the intention to keep her in my words. A warm feeling washed over her heart. She finally gave a gentle smile. She softly replied, "Where do you usually buy your clothes?" Aunt Shue's thrift shop around the corner on the back street. $50 is enough to put together a whole outfit, but I disinfect them carefully. Every time, I boil them in soapy water 3 times and dry them in the sun. Her soft voice revealed a hint of urgency. Afraid that I would look down on her because of it, I suddenly remembered a place. The clothes there are really nice. Unexpectedly having her hand held by me, Bai Wei stumbled half a step. Her forehead lightly bumped against my shoulder blade. She didn't resist at all, letting me lead her away. We stopped in front of a display window at the corner of the street. From the wooden door of the shop, the sound of a brass bell and a lazy phonograph drifted out, intertwining with each other. Bai Wei looked at the expensive items displayed in the window. Subconsciously, she awkwardly gripped the hem of her old shirt. "It looks too expensive here. The owner is an old classmate of my mom's. She mainly does business with students. It's not expensive. Don't worry, let's go in." I pushed the door open and walked in. The shop smelled faintly of freshly ironed cotton. Aunt Shui looked up from behind the counter. Her eyes landed on the two of us. Our hands were holding each other. It made her smile, the wrinkles at the corners of her eyes showing clearly.
Wow, what a pretty girl.
Nancheng brought his girlfriend to pick out some clothes. Bai Wei's ears instantly turned bright red. I noticed her tension. I gently let go of her hand. "Aunt Shui, help her look at some transitional clothes. She needs a few sets of underwear too. Pick the grade A pure cotton ones." Aunt Shui smiled and led Bai Wei inside. The curtain in the back only covered from the neck down. Bai Wei kept feeling as if she was exposed to my gaze. She shyly shrank deep into the clothing racks. I backed away to the window and sat down, absently flipping through a catalog. The soft voices behind the curtain reached her ears loud and clear. "You really don't need that lace set. Listen to me. Women need to know how to pamper themselves. Underwear is worn on the inside. As long as you like it, that's all that matters. This set will definitely drive that boy Nancheng crazy."
You like it. He likes looking at it.
Isn't that a win-win? Bai Wei wanted to explain their relationship, but the words caught in her throat. In the end, she just blushed and accepted it. After picking out the underwear, Aunt Shui grabbed a few outfits and ducked behind the curtain. Hearing the rustle of fabric inside, a thin layer of sweat broke out on the back of my neck. In my mind, I couldn't help but imagine how she would look wearing them. The curtain was pulled open with a swish. Does it look weird? Bai Wei grabbed the hem of the dress and did a half twirl. The morning sun draped over the semi-transparent honey-colored cotton fabric. The swaying hemline created a beautiful curve like morning dew. My Adam's apple bobbed hard. I suddenly stood up to help her smooth out her shirt collar. "You buttoned the second one wrong." My fingers accidentally brushed against her firm skin. I pulled my hand back as if I'd been shocked. I quickly grabbed a straw sun hat and placed it on her head to hide my fluster. "Looks like you two are both very satisfied, huh? Try this one next." The curtain was pulled back again. Semi-transparent linen. Under the morning sun, it outlined her youthful curves. For a moment, I couldn't take my eyes off her. Aunt Shue's taste really isn't bad. Several outfits in a row fit her perfectly. Seeing her getting addicted to styling her, I hurriedly spoke up to stop her.
All right.
"Aunt Shui, don't pick out any more. My card is about to max out."
What are you afraid of? Go back and ask your mom to pay for it.
She'd be overjoyed to spend money on her daughter-in-law. "I thought you two had already sealed the deal a long time ago." I smiled bitterly, repeatedly asking her to keep it a secret. Aunt Shui teased me, then gave me a friendly 90% discount. At checkout, she packed the underwear separately. She leaned in close to my ear and whispered,
Your little girlfriend's figure.
"Aunt Shui has verified it for you. It's amazing." I coughed violently, blushing as I handed over my credit card. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Bai Wei. She was on her tiptoes, looking at a lace nightgown by the window. In the morning light, she looked so vibrant and beautiful. In a flash, the tragic image of her corpse in the heavy rain from my past life flashed through my mind once again. I suddenly clenched my fists, swearing silently in my heart, in this life, as long as I'm alive, I will absolutely protect this beauty before my eyes at all costs. With the clothes sorted out, all that was left was bedding. I walked ahead, carrying the shopping bags. Bai Wei walked a little slower, secretly watching me. The mint green lace hem in the shopping bag fluttered gently in the wind. The home goods section is on the 4th floor.
Just pick whatever you like later.
After all, you're the one sleeping on it. Right now, we look like a young couple out shopping. She carried a hint of nervousness and sweetness. Arriving at the bedding store, the warm yellow lighting made everything look so soft. I pushed the cart beside her, watching her bend down to choose. It felt like a newlywed couple shopping for their home. "Is this too expensive?" "Expensive. If you like it, just try it first." I grabbed a silk comforter and stuffed it into her arms. She smiled without saying a word, while I crouched in front of the shelf to compare filling materials. She quietly took that comforter, the 4-figure silk comforter, and put it back. She hugged a cheaper light blue cotton one instead. "This one feels really nice." "Nice, my foot. The quality is so poor. I suddenly realized she was deterred by the price. I stood up and gently tapped her forehead. Good bedding can improve your sleep quality. Besides, when you're no longer sleeping in the living room, we can wash it and let guests use it. It's fine to buy something a little more expensive. The phrase "we and no longer sleeping in the living room" made her hear a different meaning. She spaced out for a moment. Come here and test the support of this mattress. Before she could react, I pulled her into the fluffy silk comforter. I casually slipped a memory foam pillow behind her head. Through a layer of fabric, my palm gently supported the small of her back. Bai Wei sank into the soft bedding, her cheeks flushed. The air around us seemed filled with the scent of molasses.
So sweet.
After buying everything, she stared at the pale silver comforter in the cart.
She softly said thank you.
Thank you, Gu Nancheng. I suddenly stopped in my tracks. She instinctively bumped into my back. From now on, you don't need to say thank you anymore. Actions speak louder than words. Before you repay me, you must not let anything happen to you, no matter what. Although she was a bit dazed, she still obediently nodded. Let's go. We're going home. After paying and leaving the address for delivery, I carried the bags of clothes and took her home. When we passed by a food stall on the corner, the aroma of osmanthus sweet rice wine wafted over. I bought a portion of piping hot rice cakes, blew on it gently, and brought it right to her mouth. She took a bite, osmanthus crumbs sticking to the corner of her mouth. I casually wiped them away with my thumb. Is it good? It's very sweet and fragrant. Next time, it'll take you to the snack street. There's way more delicious food over there. Hearing my promise, she stared at my back in a daze. I had no idea that deep down she was still thinking about our childhood. That promise we made in the park all those years ago. After buying toiletries and returning home, the bedding had already been delivered. I was kneeling on the living room floor, putting the duvet cover on. Bai Wei stood to the side, hugging a new pillow. Let me do it. I've got it. I'm afraid you'll end up sewing yourself into the blanket. I held out the new bedsheet, turned around, and draped it over her head like a veil. Now this whole bed, this whole room is yours, until you get tired of it. This simple sentence instantly touched the deepest part of her heart. She suddenly turned away. I keenly noticed a slight choked-up feeling in the air. Seeing her shoulders trembling unnaturally, she was crying. Perhaps this was the first time she felt what it was like to have a family, to lighten the mood. I deliberately joked, "Don't get emotional just yet. I'm still going to charge you rent as usual. You can stay, but you have to figure out how to pay off your debt." Hearing this, Bai Wei wiped the corners of her eyes and turned back around. Her eyes were a little red, but her face bloomed with an incredibly radiant smile.
So bright.
I had just finished helping Bai Wei settle everything, lying on the sofa, about to breathe a sigh of relief, when the doorbell suddenly rang. Bai Wei instinctively took a frightened step back. Having experienced the tragedy of my past life, my nerves had long been stretched to their absolute limit. I didn't dare let my guard down for a second, terrified that outside the door was the very killer lurking in the shadows. I sprang up, shielding her tightly behind my back. "Leave it. Let me check." Realizing my overprotectiveness, Bai Wei was a bit surprised, but a hint of sweetness welled up in her eyes. Treating it like a deadly threat, I peeked through the peephole, only to find that the person standing outside was Jiang Yan, the biggest suspect I had my eye on. On this day in my past life,
Jiang Yan never came to my house.
the timeline had changed. This sudden visit made my vigilance skyrocket. I suppressed my wildly beating heart and opened the door. "Ah, Jiang Yan, what are you doing here?" "Can't. I come see you if nothing's wrong. The wind and rain were so heavy last night, and you got completely soaked. I was worried you'd catch a cold, so I specifically asked my mom to teach me how to make cold remedy soup. Brought it right over for you." Looking at the thermos he was holding, it suddenly dawned on me. It turned out that my braving the rain to talk sense into him last night had actually moved him, which led to this butterfly effect. Looking at the boy in front of me, his eyes full of appreciation and brotherly loyalty, I didn't know how to react for a moment. I actually did feel a little dizzy. "Then hurry up and drink 2 bowls while it's hot." Jiang Yan was just about to step inside when he suddenly saw Bai Wei being shielded behind me. He froze for a moment. His gaze immediately darted back and forth between us. "Bai Wei, you know her." Got it. "Hello, sister-in-law. Looks like I came at a bad time today. This ginger, red date, and brown sugar soup needs to be drunk while it's hot. It's really nourishing for you too, sister-in-law. I still have to go to the hospital to take care of my mom. I won't be a third wheel anymore." Jiang Yan turned and ran off. Looking at his energetic and innocent retreating figure, I felt an indescribable mix of emotions. I really found it hard to believe that someone who valued friendship and loyalty so much could be that ruthless killer. I even desperately hoped to find another real suspect soon, to clear him of suspicion in my heart. Bai Wei looked in the direction Jiang Yan had left. Everyone says He's the notorious boss of the school, but why doesn't he look like it at all? You can't judge a book by its cover. He's someone with his own story too. A lot of things aren't as simple as they appear on the outside. I opened the lid of the thermos. A strong aroma of ginger and red dates hit my nose. I scooped out 2 bowls, handed one to her, and told her to drink it while it was hot. You got caught in the rain quite a bit last night, too? I've noticed you've been looking a little pale lately.
Drink more to nourish yourself.
The spicy sweet soup flowed down my throat. A wave of warmth instantly spread through my limbs. I used to only hear people talk bad about him. I didn't expect him to be such a good guy. It's all just forced by life. He wasn't supposed to end up like this. Hearing the words forced by life, Bai Wei's expression suddenly darkened. Clearly, these few simple words had touched upon her own similar painful struggles. As for Bai Wei's family situation, I only knew the basics. In my past life, when investigating her case, I had sought out her parents, but basically got nothing. Her parents were divorced. They had each started new families. She had always lived with her mother. This made me certain that, on that stormy night in my past life, Bai Wei was driven to a dead end before coming to find me. It definitely had everything to do with her family of origin. In my past life, I heard from the neighbors that the night Bai Wei rushed out of the house into the rain, it was because of a conflict with her stepfather. She apparently even stabbed and injured him. But when I went to ask, they adamantly denied it. They said the stepfather slipped on the wet floor and accidentally crashed into the mother, right when she was holding an apple-peeling knife. They also said the stepfather saw Bai Wei saving a picture of a boy on her phone, scolded her a bit, which led to the argument. Not long after Bai Wei left the house, they went to the hospital. Security cameras confirmed their arrival time at the hospital, ruling them out as suspects. However, upon hearing the news of Bai Wei's death, the stepfather had no reaction at all. The mother fainted on the spot and then went completely insane. What broke my heart even more was, the investigation results showed that after leaving her mother's house, Bai Wei went to her father's house, but she came back out shortly after. On the camera, she was walking with her head down, looking even more depressed than when she arrived. On that stormy night, she was driven away by her two closest families, one after the other. Only then did she finally come to my house. I didn't dare imagine when she knocked on my door how much despair she must have been going through. Every time I thought of this, the regret in my heart surged like a tide, drowning me. Thank God I was given a chance to do it all over again. I will absolutely never let go of her again. I carried a glass of hot milk toward the sofa. Bai Wei was curled up in the corner reading a book. The warm light outlined her frail figure. I caught a glimpse of her unconsciously, rubbing the inside of her left wrist, revealing a pale pink crescent-shaped scar.
Try it. I added some honey.
I placed the glass in her hands. She was just about to say thank you, but remembering what I said, she swallowed the words back down. Amidst the faint scent of milk, I noticed she was reading my book. It was just lying around on the bookshelf.
What's up?
Want to be a fortune teller.
Yeah, once I finish studying it,
I'll read your fortune for you. She smiled playfully. While we were chatting, the sound of a car outside the window suddenly rang out, a piercing screech of brakes. Bai Wei jumped, nearly spilling her milk. I quickly grabbed her trembling hand. After confirming nothing was wrong outside, I sat back down beside her. Gently holding her hand, I said, "Don't worry, you still owe me, before you pay off your debt. No one can take you away." Bai Wei, who had just been startled, heard this, and her heart beat even faster. "Once you finish studying, see if the two of us are a good match. I'm just afraid you'll clash with your creditor here." Hearing that, Bai Wei's small face instantly flushed red. She had secretly checked their birth charts a long time ago. Surprisingly, they were a perfect match. "What's your college choice?" "Although I have some ideas, I haven't decided yet." "What about you?" "Me? That's easy. Whatever school you apply to, I'll apply to. You still owe me a huge debt. If I don't keep a close eye on you at all times, and you run away when I lose everything." Bai Wei held the spoon, gently stirring in circles. Looking into my smiling eyes, a wave of sweetness mixed with fluster welled up in her heart. "I want to apply to Jin University, or the psychology major at Jingdu Medical University. Those two universities aren't easy to get into."
Why do you suddenly want to study psychology?
The thought of her mother going insane suddenly flashed through my mind. Could it be that her mother already had a mental illness? Bai Wei parted her lips, but ultimately didn't explain anything. "This major is pretty good too. You can train your own psychological endurance while you're at it. I'll do my best. Then let me tutor you." She looked at me in surprise. "Your current grades in class are only average, and I'm always at the top of the class."
What are you looking down on me?
Well,
"Ah, you're lying. Every time you lie, you don't dare look people in the eye, and your words get choppy." You know when those words reached her ears? It meant that I had always been secretly paying attention to her. The sweetness in her heart instantly surpassed the taste of the milk. To prove myself, I brought out a set of college entrance exam prep papers. Scribbling away, I finished several pages in a row. Fast and accurate. Actually, in my past life, to get into the People's Public Security University and track down the real killer, I had studied like a madman. These exam questions were already etched into my soul. Seeing my hidden top student abilities, a look of admiration flashed in Bai Wei's eyes. "Then wouldn't I owe you another tutoring fee? What if I can't afford to pay it?" "Then hurry up and sign a contract selling yourself to me." I grabbed a pen and paper and handed them to her. It was originally just a joke. I didn't expect her to actually take them. She lowered her head and wrote seriously. I wanted to see what she was going to write. It turned out Baiwei only wrote 3 words on the paper. Contract of servitude. Along with the line, contractor, Baiwei, leaving a large blank space in the middle. She smiled and handed the paper back to me. The conditions in the middle. Let you, the creditor, fill them in yourself. Then doesn't that mean I can do whatever I want?
So how would you like to be served?
My lord creditor. She smiled mischievously. I suddenly leaned in close to her ear. My warm breath brushed against the back of her ear, making her feel a little ticklish. Forget about the serving, but I do have one order. Come here tonight. Baiwei nervously swallowed hard. At 10 p.m.
You must go to sleep.
You're not allowed to wake up before 7 a.m. tomorrow.
I'll make breakfast tomorrow.
She looked at me in surprise. Immediately after, her heart felt warm. She broke into a radiant smile.
Yes, sir. Lord Creditor.
As night fell, under my strict orders, Baiwei obediently got into bed to sleep. I poured her a glass of hot milk. It's fine if you lock the door. I walked out. She looked at the doorknob and ultimately didn't lock it. Returning to my bedroom, I breathed a sigh of relief. To numb my own self-blame, I had solved cases like a madman. I even turned down the cushy position my master arranged for me, just afraid that if I had free time, I'd think of her again. Now, back 10 years in the past, she was saved. I was finally free. After some psychological self-suggestion, I fell into a deep sleep. In my dream, I returned to a corner of the park from my childhood. A little girl as petite as a porcelain doll was sobbing.
Why are you still crying when you're this big?
I'm not crying. Did they bully you?
I'll make them apologize to you.
The little girl hurriedly pulled the boy's hand, saying it had nothing to do with anyone else. Little Gu Nanchang took out the clean handkerchief his mom had prepared and gently wiped away the little girl's tears.
Why do you keep staring at me?
The boy innocently checked his reflection in a puddle, making the crying girl suddenly burst into laughter. Ha ha ha! My name is Gu Nancheng. I come here to play all the time. If you're ever unhappy about anything, just come find me. Following his mother's call, the boy ran off into the distance.
Ring.
The alarm clock blared. I jolted awake, my eyes wide open, muttering to myself, why did I suddenly dream about when I was a kid? At the same time, Baiwei was also immersed in a dream about that park. One of my parents is about to leave me. Don't cry anymore. I thought it was something major. Both my parents left me, and I haven't even cried. Little Baiwei looked at him in shock. She didn't expect this boy to be so strong. She stubbornly pulled the boy into a hug, comforting him instead. If your parents left, what are you gonna do?
Just live with my grandparents.
The adults say they'll come back when they're done with work. They said after my parents leave, they'll have new families. They won't want me anymore. I'm so scared. The boy wiped her tears again and grabbed her hand. Then you can come to my house. My house is really big too. I heard my parents say they wanted a daughter. We can become a family. These innocent, childish words made little Baiwei's tears flow like a river once again. It turned out there was still a place for her in this world. But after that, she never came back. She left a note full of gratitude, tucked under the spot where they usually met. At the end of the dream, Baiwei watched his retreating figure. Without realizing it, tears had soaked her eyelashes. I knocked on the guest room door to wake Baiwei up. On the dining table, I had specially cooked red date, red bean, koi seed, and lily porridge to nourish her blood and chi. Watching her sip the porridge like a little kitten afraid of the heat, I unconsciously stared in a daze.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I suddenly realized you look a lot like someone, a little girl I met when I was very young. We played for less than half a month before she moved away. I think you look a lot like her.
Didn't she say goodbye to you?
Hearing Baiwei's question, I sank into my memories. There was no direct goodbye. I only found a torn little piece of paper, and that's how I knew she was gone. The paper was ruined by the rain. Only half of it was left. I looked at Baiwei. The more I looked, the more her aura resembled that little girl from back then. I asked her if, when she was little, she had ever met a boy in the park. She smiled mischievously again, telling me to guess. Baiwei right now was visibly in a great mood. She finally understood
why I didn't react when I first heard her name.
It was because the piece of paper with her name on it had been torn, ruined. Knowing that I had actually always remembered her, she was rarely stubborn enough to not give me a direct answer. I'm guessing you're not that little girl, because you're much prettier than she was. Seeing her small face instantly flush red, I smiled smugly. After breakfast, I got ready to take her out to buy a phone. After all, I couldn't tie her to my side 24/7. At the same time, I was considering how to bring it up to my mom far away, to borrow some money. Buying clothes and that high-end bedding set last night. My credit card limit had hit rock bottom. I had just texted her asking to borrow $5,000. I didn't expect my mom to transfer $50,000 straight over. Looking at the message my mom sent, if it's not enough, just tell mom. Make sure you treat her right. I let out a bitter laugh. It seems Xu Yi had already reported the fact that I took a girl to buy underwear. To my mom, with this strong financial backing, I instantly felt much more at ease. I asked, since we have some free time, Is there anywhere you want to go? I want to take a walk in the Old Town Park. Old Town Park? Isn't that the exact place where, all those years ago, that little girl and I met, combined with what she just said, and the background of her parents' divorce and remarriages, plus her little habit of not daring to look at people when lying, and hesitating when she speaks. Every detail at this moment matched perfectly. With her, my heart suddenly surged with an intense flutter. In my past life following her death, my world sank into gloom. I had absolutely no mind to reminisce about my childhood. Now, thinking about it carefully, she was that little girl from back then. The park over there is great for flying kites. Let's buy a kite on the way. After flying it, we can go stroll down the snack street. Okay, I've never flown a kite before. Seeing her so happy, just like a child, because she got to fly a kite, my heart was filled with tender affection. The normal, everyday things other people do were rare experiences for her. I silently swore to myself, no matter how much color she had lost in her life, I would help her find it all back, bit by bit. First things first, let's get you a phone while we're out. You don't have a phone on you if something happens. How is a creditor like me supposed to find you? Hearing this ridiculous excuse, she smiled and nodded, pushing open the glass door of the phone store. An enthusiastic clerk removed the dust cover and introduced us to a pink phone perfect for couples. Hearing us called that, Bai Wei shyly clutched the hem of her light blue skirt. I pointed at the sunset pink phone priced at 4,888 yuan. Seeing her staring blankly at the price tag, I reached out and covered her eyes. Don't look at things you shouldn't. The creditor makes the decisions. The clerk brought out a display model and showed us how to take a selfie. A snow-falling filter drifted across the side of my face. Bai Wei awkwardly pressed the shutter. The photo only captured a corner of my shirt. You have to be this close for a good selfie. I leaned in close and held her hand. The warmth from my palm seeped through the back of her hand into her skin. I pressed the shutter while practically brushing against her hair. The screen lit up. In the photo, she was looking up slightly, with the side of my face right next to hers. Her strands of hair, the glass behind us, reflected our overlapping silhouettes. Anyone looking at it would think we were a couple secretly taking a selfie. After buying the phone, the clerk offered to engrave our couple initials for free, then engraved this, GNCM. Bai Wei looked at the letters with a face full of confusion. The first 3 letters are my initials, but what do the last 2 mean? As we walked out of the store, she was still lost in thought. She almost tripped on the doorstep. I reached out and caught her firmly in my arms. The faint scent of her hair brushed against my nose.
Watch where you're going.
You jerk. Just tell me already.
Otherwise, I won't be able to stop thinking about it. It was rare for her to tug at my sleeve and act cute. All right, you win. A rant I your creditor. stands for buying a MasterCard. Of course, it could be translated another way. Bai Wei suddenly realized. She seemed to suddenly think of that other meaning. Her heartbeat suddenly sped up. Her pretty rosy face flushed bright red again. Looking at Bai Wei's blushing face, I chuckled inwardly.
Those 2 letters.
She definitely thought of my man. I didn't spell out this layer of meaning. This girlish mindset, a mix of insecurity and anticipation, made her look especially captivating right now. The bus bumped along toward the old town. That was where our childhoods overlapped. I took out one of my earbuds and gently placed it in her ear. Have you ever heard this song? It's Don't Cry by Zhang Jihua. My most beloved. I actually really like this song. At that moment, memories flooded my mind. In my past life, I listened to this song countless times late at night, mourning her tragic death. The lyrics go, "Tonight I'm like a blooming epiphyllum, withering away in its most beautiful moment." It was truly like a prophecy of her fate. Lei Ting's melancholic, ethereal cover played through the earbuds. As Bai Wei kept listening, tears suddenly fell silently from her eyes. I didn't know that in her past life she had wanted to end her life on the rooftop countless times. It was the silhouette of that young boy from back then that had supported her and kept her going until now. The tears she shed right now were a farewell to her gloomy past self. As I was lost in my own sorrow, a soft hand gently brushed across my cheek. Bai Wei's eyes showed a heartbreaking tenderness. Just like when we were kids, she suddenly pulled me into a gentle, tight embrace. The warmth radiating from her overlapped with the memory of the little girl who had comforted me in that park. I didn't pull away. I let time freeze in this moment. The morning sun shone through the bus window, scattering the dark clouds that had gathered in my heart for so long. Stepping off the bus, the wind in the old town carried the faint scent of camphor leaves. The surrounding breakfast stalls, the ringing of bicycle bells, nothing had changed at all. Walking into an alley filled with kites on display, Bai Wei was like a curious child, following closely behind me. We stopped in front of a kite stall. She immediately set her eyes on a peach-pink butterfly kite. "Do you young lovebirds want to get one each? This blue one makes a perfect pair with it. If we fly too, how am I supposed to find an excuse to hold her little hand?" The stall owner was stunned by my teasing. Bai Wei covered her mouth and giggled softly. Her initial awkwardness had faded significantly. The spring breeze brushed against our faces. I ran ahead holding the kite, demonstrating how to fly it. Start running faster. Under my guidance, The butterfly kite finally caught the wind and soared into the sky. Bai Wei looked up at the sky, her eyes sparkling with an unprecedented radiance. Want to give it a try? I handed her the spool. The wind suddenly picked up. She stumbled a bit. I took the opportunity to wrap my arms around her from behind. My warm palms pressed against the back of her hands and fingertips. In that brief moment of contact, I caught the pure scent of jasmine from her hair. Giu Nancheng. I remember when we were kids. You always said clouds looked like cotton candy. You wanted to taste them to see what they were like. Now I've found something even more like it. It's you. Because your smile is exactly like cotton candy. Soft and sweet. Just as we were sharing this sweet moment, I suddenly spotted a familiar figure squatting nearby. Jiang Yan, what are you doing here? Jiang Yan froze for a moment. Old Gu, it's nothing. He laughed it off, saying he was waiting for a friend. Following Jiang Yan's gaze, I saw him staring intently at a girl with a ponytail helping out at her dad's barbecue stall. Looking at that girl, I suddenly remembered Jiang Yan's tragic past. In my previous life, Jiang Yan and this girl fell in love. To erase her father's prejudice against him, caused by his reputation as the school's top delinquent, Jiang Yan put in a lot of effort. He cut his hair short, endured the pain of getting his tattoos removed, distanced himself from his bad crowd, quit smoking, and even started dressing neatly and cleanly. But no matter how much he changed, in her father's eyes, he was always just a thug scheming to trick his daughter's feelings. The girl felt heartbroken for Jiang Yan. She ran away from home in a fit of anger and moved in with him. Although Jiang Yan's mother was happy, she often advised the girl to go back and have a proper talk with her father. Unexpectedly, not only was her father unsympathetic, but he also brought the police straight to their door, right in front of all the neighbors. He cursed Jiang Yan for ruining his daughter's reputation and threatened to sue him for rape.
Jiang Yan's mother,
who was already suffering from uremia and severe complications, couldn't handle the shock. Overcome with grief and anger, she passed away right then and there. The girl's father was completely stunned. He had only wanted to scare Jiang Yan, but he never expected it to result in someone's death. A beautiful romance instantly turned into a deep, bitter blood feud. His mother was Jiang Yan's only emotional support. The extreme grief and fury almost made him fight to the death right on the spot, even though the girl's father later regretted it and changed his mind.
How could Jiang Yan live with the guilt of being with
the daughter of the man who killed his mother? In the end, the two of them went their separate ways. Not long after, Jiang Yan dropped out of school and left the city. Years later, I bumped into him by chance at the interrogation room. He had become a ragged, homeless man sleeping under a bridge. The wanderer had gone completely insane. He just kept repeating one sentence over and over. He had to avenge his mother's murderer. The extreme pain had burned away his sanity. He forgot how to take revenge and could only live out the rest of his life in madness. Recalling his deranged state back then, my heart ached, just as much as when I saw Bai Wei's tragedy. So even though the knife in my past life pointed suspicion at him, I firmly believe that he was absolutely not some heinous evil killer, since God gave me a second chance. I absolutely won't let tragedy repeat itself. I plan to take the 100,000 yuan reward for the criminal tip and give it to Jiang Yan, with an honorable endorsement from the police station. The girl's father's prejudice against him would definitely be greatly reduced.
What's up, old Guo?
Ill. Tell you tomorrow when we get to school. Jiang Yan scratched his head, looking completely confused. While we were talking, a young man walked by holding a little boy's hand. When he saw me, he froze in his tracks.
What a coincidence.
Taking your little brother out for a walk. Yi Zi nodded expressionlessly, seemingly unsure of what face to make when looking at me. Hello, mister?
Yu.
His little brother Yi Shi was very sweet, because I had helped his older brother before. The little boy was very fond of me. Hey there. You're such a good boy, little Ji. I smiled and reached out to rub Ye Shi's head. However, Bai Wei sensitively noticed that Ye Zi was looking at me with an unusual gaze. When Gu Nancheng touched Ye Shi,
Yi Zi's eyes
revealed an uncontrollable urge and fanaticism. He was extremely jealous that his little brother got to be close to Gu Nancheng, wishing he could take his brother's place. The intense emotion made his whole body tremble slightly. Bai Wei was frightened by that bizarre, fanatical gaze. She couldn't tell if it was extreme malice or some kind of unsettling goodwill. Noticing Bai Wei's stare, Yi Zi suddenly turned his head and glared at her sharply. Terrified, Bai Wei dodged to the side and hid behind me, gripping my sleeve tightly. I looked up at Ye Zi. He immediately withdrew all his intensity, returning to his gloomy, lifeless demeanor. I couldn't figure out what was usually going on in his head. You guys keep walking around? I'm full, so I'll head out first. Ye Zi nodded awkwardly, hunching over slightly. Bai Wei, are you really full? We have school tomorrow. Let's go to bed early tonight. I'm not making you a late-night snack. Hearing this, Yi Zi's pupils shook violently. His lips parted as if he wanted to ask something. But in the end, he didn't. I'm full. Let's go. Bai Wei seemed a bit scared of Ye Zi, pulling me quickly out of the snack street. It wasn't until his little brother tugged at his sleeve. Brother, brother that Yezi finally pulled his gaze away from the end of the street. Offering a rare, gentle smile to his family, Bai Wei had eaten too much and was sitting on the couch, gently rubbing her stomach. I sat down next to her, took her small hands, placed them on her stomach, and guided her hands to rub in a clockwise motion. Seeing my patient and serious demeanor, Bai Wei blushed. This warm atmosphere made her feel even more comfortable than at her own parents' house. I went into the kitchen and made her a glass of honey lemon mint water. Bai Wei, sitting on the couch, suddenly fell into a state of anxiety over gaining and losing. The long-term suppression from her original family made her terrified that the dreamlike goodness in front of her was just an illusory bubble. She was afraid that when she woke up tomorrow, she would have to face that cold house again. I noticed something was off with her, so I walked over and pressed my forehead against hers to check her temperature. After confirming she didn't have a fever, I sat down beside her. Honey lemon water with a bit of mint. It's good for your stomach. I scooped up some of the tea with a porcelain spoon and slowly brought it to her lips. She was shy and wanted to drink it herself, but I used the excuse that she shouldn't make herself feel even fuller and stubbornly fed it to her spoonful by spoonful. With every sip she swallowed, the warm, sweet, and sour liquid flowed down her esophagus into her stomach. Watching my gentle, patient movements, Bai Wei's eyes welled up with tears. The gloom and insecurity that had built up in her heart for so long were slowly melting away under this overwhelming sense of safety. That night, Bai Wei slept very peacefully. In her dream, she saw her late grandparents. With happy tears in her eyes, she told them that she had met a really wonderful boy. At the end of the dream, she held my hand and waved goodbye to her grandparents in the sky. As her long-standing psychological wounds gradually healed, her state of mind also began to change, finally finding the peace and security she had lacked for so long. The next morning, Bai Wei woke up early to prepare breakfast.
Watching her busy figure,
I realized her whole aura seemed different from before. She had become much more open and optimistic. After breakfast, we changed into our uniforms and headed out together. Bai Wei, let's find some time in the next couple of days to go to your house and move your things over here. Hearing the word house, Bai Wei's fingertips visibly trembled a bit, suddenly clenching tight. She had absolutely no idea how to face those two broken families. I tightly grasped her freezing left hand, passing the warmth from my palm to reassure her. You don't need to worry about your family objecting. I have a way to stop them. Gu Nansheng, I really don't want to go back there anymore. She squeezed my hand back, her eyes filled with pure trust and intense longing. Trust me, I won't let you go back. You owe me a debt right now. You're not allowed to run away before you pay it all off. Bai Wei smiled and nodded. After seeing the brightest light in her life, she finally had the courage to escape that darkness. On Monday, Bai Wei and I went to school together. The sound of students reading echoed through the classroom. Just as Bai Wei and I sat down, my desk mate, Su Jin, leaned in with a gossipy look on her face.
Hey.
I heard you two went strolling through the night market yesterday, and that you were super sweet together. Is it true? Bai Wei blushed shyly. I reached out in surprise and pinched Su Jin's sun-kissed, rosy cheeks.
who did you hear that from?
Fess up right now. Ow, ow, ow.
Zhang Yan's little brother Ye Shi said it.
He said you were on a date with a pretty older sister. I let go helplessly. A few guys in the class heard the rumor and joined in on the teasing. I put on a serious face and glared at them. Only then did everyone settle down and continue their morning reading. Just then, a middle-aged woman who still retained her charm suddenly appeared at the classroom door. I glanced over. It turned out to be Bai Wei's biological mother. The moment she saw her appear, Bai Wei's body instantly stiffened. She instinctively turned her head to me for help. The homeroom teacher went to the door and exchanged a few words, then turned to look inside the classroom. Bai Wei, your mother is here for you. After receiving a reassuring look from me, Bai Wei took a deep breath, stood up, and walked toward the classroom door. As soon as she stepped outside, her mother put on a face full of remorse and exchanged a few words with Mr. He tactfully retreated back into the classroom. I sat in my seat, my eyes looking through the window. Bai Wei stood not far from the door, keeping her head bowed the entire time. Her lips were pressed tightly together, ignoring her mother, who was rambling on endlessly opposite her. A long while later, her mother seemed to coldly throw out a final sentence before turning and walking away. Bai Wei, who had just gained a bit of vitality this morning, thanks to my promise, had visibly hit rock bottom emotionally. By the time she returned to her seat, she looked up at me with a hint of unease. I didn't ask any questions. I just looked at her and gave her a firm, meaningful smile. Seeing my smile, her tense shoulders relaxed slightly, and her expression gradually calmed down a bit. Bai Wei, what did your mom want? Nothing. Just family stuff. Kids shouldn't eavesdrop on adult matters. Later, when morning study hall is over, I'll take you to the cafeteria for a massive feast. For now, just be good and read your book. I used my book to lightly tap Su Jin's nosy little head, smoothly bailing Bai Wei out. But in my mind, I had already figured out my next move. Since the dark shadow of her original family clung to her like a ghost, I had to fight. for more legitimate opportunities to stay by her side. As morning study hall was about to end, I walked straight up to the podium and whispered a request into Mr. He's ear. At your age, you should still focus on your studies. Mr. He, can we make a little bet? In this week's final exams, if I can make it into the top 10 of the class, you have to let me change my seat to sit next to her. Hearing top 10 of the class, Mr. He's calm eyes suddenly lit up. I'm not an old-fashioned guy. If you can turn your teenage crushes into motivation to strive for excellence, then to me, that's a plus. I admire your courage. All right, as long as you make the top 10, I'll agree to it. I smiled and Pinky swore with him. Returning to my seat, I immediately opened my English book and started studying almost maniacally. My desk mate, Huang Miao, looked at me like I was a monster. If I had suddenly gotten hooked on drugs, I ignored him, because I knew this was a bet I absolutely had to win. As soon as morning study hall ended, I kept my promise and took Bai Wei and Su Jin to the cafeteria. Su Jin picked out a whole 10 yuan worth of snacks, plotting revenge for me pinching her face earlier. Seeing that Bai Wei still wasn't very enthusiastic, I grabbed a lollipop from the shelf and handed it to her. Eat something sweet to get your sugar up. It'll make you feel better. Remember what I said this morning? After school, I'll take care of everything. Bai Wei held the lollipop, took a few deep breaths, and finally broke into a bright smile, no longer forcing it around me. Just as we stepped out of the store, I saw Jiang Yan sitting cross-legged on a planter, staring intently at someone not far away. The girl with the ponytail helping out at the barbecue stall. He was probably staring so passionately that he didn't even notice us approaching. Liangzi, if you keep staring like that, sooner or later, you're going to be treated like a stalker. Jiang Yan snapped out of it, startled. Seeing us, he stammered, "Old goo." Hello, sister-in-law, making Bai Wei blush bright red. I told Bai Wei and Su Jin to head back to class first, then turned and sat down next to Jiang Yan. Since I caught you,
Let your bro teach you a trick.
chasing girls comes down to one word: sincerity. But I'm not worried about Ku Dangwen not accepting you. It's her extremely traditional father. He definitely won't approve of this school delinquent look of yours. Jiang Yan immediately looked distressed. In my past life, it was exactly because of this stubborn prejudice that Jiang Yan's mother fell ill from the stress and passed away. Jiang Yan eventually descended into madness. In this life, I absolutely cannot let that tragedy repeat itself. I have a way to make him change his view of you. I have a tip on a wanted criminal with a 100,000 yuan bounty. You go to the police station and report it. Once the cops catch the guy, this huge credit will go to you, with the police station's endorsement and the school's commendation. If Father Quo still scrutinizes the way you dress, just tell him you were undercover to help solve the case, blending in with the thugs. He'll definitely look at you in a whole new light. Holy crap, old goo, that's a genius move. Well, split the 100,000 reward 50 per 50. You take 50,000, which will ease the pressure of paying for Auntie's medical bills, and you'll have more time to chase after his daughter. The intel is absolutely reliable. Are you in? I'm in. Bros for life. With your word on it, say no more? Just as I finalized the plan with Jiang Yan, I saw Ku Dangwen. Gathering her courage and walking this way, I tactfully retreated around the corner to observe quietly. Jiang Yan, who was 1.8 meters tall, when facing Ku Dangwen, was as awkward as an elementary schooler who had made a mistake, even stammering when he spoke. It turned out Ku Dangwen had once called the police to help him out of a jam. She thought the rumored school delinquent was some vicious thug, but unexpectedly, he was just an innocent, stammering boy. Watching Jiang Yan follow the girl without leaving her side, this old father finally felt at ease. As soon as I turned around, I saw Ye Zi standing quietly not far away. I'm really sorry about last Friday. Were you okay after that? I'm fine. Here, I'm returning this to you. I took the jacket to the dry cleaners. I'll give it to you later when I pick it up. I took the freshly washed handkerchief, patted his shoulder, told him to come find me anytime if he ever needed anything, and turned to head back to class. As soon as I entered the classroom, I snatched Su Jin's chocolate bar that she was hiding in her desk. Amidst Su Jin's protests, I gave the last piece to Bai Wei. Bai Wei gently broke the chocolate in half and shared half with Su Jin. The classroom was filled with youthful energy. Sitting back in my seat, I took out my phone and received a fax file my mom sent over. A domestic helper employment contract. The contract terms were clear. A monthly salary of 6,000. Free room and board provided. Absolutely no tasks that would be harmful to physical or mental health. Looking at this contract, I breathed a sigh of relief. This wasn't just a simple employment document. It was a legal shield I had created specifically for Bai Wei. As long as she signed this contract, proving she was 18 years old and had a salary sufficient to live independently, then her parents' guardianship could never interfere with or abuse her again. If those two families wouldn't give her warmth, then I would use legal means to personally pull her out of that dark mud. After confirming there were no errors in the contract, I sent the detailed information about the criminal that I had prepared to Jiang Yan. Looking at the bright sunlight outside the window, I knew that the new life belonging to me in Bai Wei had finally truly begun. Right after school, as we walked out the school gates, Bai Wei's body suddenly stiffened. She took a step back, instinctively hiding behind me. I followed her gaze. It turned out her biological father, Bai Chengfeng, was standing there, probably because Bai Wei hadn't been home for 2 days, and her mother couldn't get her back at school this morning. She turned to her father. "I've got this. If you want to talk to him, talk. If you don't, just let me handle it. You don't need to worry about a thing." Bai Wei's pale cheeks looked like crumpled rice paper in the spring breeze. She took 2 deep breaths, slowly relaxing her tense body, and continued walking forward with me. We deliberately ignored Bai Chengfeng and walked straight out the school gates. But we hadn't gone far when we heard footsteps chasing after us. "Bai Wei, wait. Your mother said you haven't been home for 2 or 3 days.
What exactly is going on?
Bai Chengfeng asked with his mouth, but his eyes were secretly sizing me up from head to toe. Bai Wei pursed her lips, her whole body trembling, unable to speak, without any hesitation. Right in front of her father, I tightly grabbed her freezing hand. This sight left Bai Chengfeng stunned in place. Bai Wei also looked at me in shock, her eyes full of fear, afraid that her father would cause trouble for me because of this.
What is the meaning of this?
You should know exactly what the meaning of this is. It was raining so heavily last Friday night, yet she didn't even have a roof over her head to take shelter. You tell me what the meaning of this is. Who are you? I'm her classmate. Let go of her and stay away from our Bai Wei. You mean that night with the heavy wind and rain? When you people would rather watch your own daughter get drenched in the street than let her stay for a single night. Your place is no longer her home. Towards this kind of cold, selfish hypocrite, I had absolutely no intention of showing any respect. Insolent brat. What the hell are you? Is it your turn to lecture me? Our family matters are none of your business. Let go of her right now, or ill go to your teachers and your parents.
Fine.
How about I call my parents right now, if you want to hear them? I might as well give you a piece of my mind. I really don't mind. You're harassing a female student. If you don't let go, I'm calling the cops. Making a false police report will get you detained. State agencies. Making a false police report will get you detained. State agencies aren't your personal bodyguards. I suggest you calm down a bit. Bai Chengfeng couldn't argue back. He reached out, trying to forcefully drag Bai Wei away. My eyes grew cold. I twisted my hand and grabbed his wrist tightly. The restraint techniques I honed in the police force in my past life gave my grip strength far beyond that of a normal high schooler. Bai Chengfeng let out a muffled groan of pain. I'm only going to tell you 3 things right now. Listen closely. First, Bai Wei's custody belongs to her mother. You have no right to forcefully control or touch her. Please let go. Second, when she needed protection the most, you just stood by and watched her get forced out into the storm.
What right? And what nerve do you have today?
To stand here and act like a hypocrite. Third, She's an adult now, and She's fully capable of supporting herself. She doesn't need your charity. If there's nothing else, we have to go get lunch. Excuse us. With that, I forcefully threw his hand off. If you dare to keep pestering us, go to your company and hang up banners. Let your colleagues and bosses hear all about how you treated your own biological daughter on that stormy night. I imagine that would have a huge impact on your chances of promotion. I had hit right on the fatal weakness of a selfish man like him. Bai Chengfeng froze completely in place, left speechless by my scolding. For some reason, on the walk home, Bai Wei kept looking up at me from time to time. She felt I was both familiar and strange, exuding a kind of maturity that didn't belong to a high schooler at all.
I'm sorry, Bai Wei.
I lost control of my emotions back there. I took it upon myself to chew your dad out, without considering how you'd feel. I suddenly feel a bit regretful. He is your biological father after all. Me clashing with him so harshly probably put you in a really awkward spot.
I'm really happy.
Really happy.
She gently squeezed my palm. Her fingertips unconsciously rubbed the back of my hand. She lowered her eyes. The way you stood in front of me, you didn't hesitate to speak up for me? You're clearly just a high schooler too, but you dared to confront my dad head on. I'm honestly so happy. She looked up. Only then did I realize that her face was already covered in tears. I took out a handkerchief and gently wiped her slightly red eyes. If you're happy, why are you crying? She didn't say anything. She just looked at me and gave an incredibly radiant smile. In those tears was a complete release from the past and the joy of a brand new life. You silly girl, crying 1 second and laughing the next. But there's nothing wrong with crying. Being able to smile after crying means you're healing. Hearing my gentle words, Bai Wei felt the sharp thorn that had always festered in her heart finally vanish completely. Once we got home, I scooped out of the rice cooker 2 heaping bowls of taro and braised pork rib rice. That's too much. I can't finish all this. There is a kind of hunger called your boss thinks you're hungry. Just eat up. Even if you gain 100 pounds, you'll always have a place to stay here. If you really do get fat, eat worst. It'll just be your demon trainer and help you lose weight. Don't torture yourself over your figure. Girls are cuter with a little meat on their bones. Just like Su Jin. Pinching her cheeks feels so nice. So if I eat until I'm chubby, won't you just pinch my cheeks and bully me every day? How could I bear to do that? Besides, you're my employee now. If I bully you, that's workplace harassment. If you report me to the labor bureau, I wouldn't be able to afford the compensation. We don't even have a contract. What would I even use to sue you? Who says we don't? I put down my bowl and chopsticks, walked over to the fax machine, and placed a document right in front of her. I prepared this paperwork for you a long time ago. Sign it after you finish eating. Byway looked at the name on the contract in surprise.
Guardian, did you talk to my mom?
This has to be done through your mom to be legal. Did she say anything else?
She did.
She said, if you can't take good care of me, she'll fire you. Especially this clause, daily living care. Like making sure my bed is warm and cozy at night, you're responsible for warming my bed. Anyone can tell that's a tyrannical clause. This kind of special service costs extra. Seeing that she was no longer timid or shy like before, and had even learned how to joke around with me, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. This contract of freedom had finally brought her completely under my wing. The atmosphere at the dining table was filled with warmth. Byway flipped through the pages on the table. At first, she thought this was just a casual joke of mine, but she found that the clauses were incredibly detailed. It was shockingly formal. No way. Are you really planning to pay me the salary listed here? It's signed in black and white. Of course it's legally binding. If I don't pay you and you sue me later, i.e. be facing a payout several times that amount. This won't do. Maybe we just shouldn't do this contract. Seeing her flustered expression, I took a slow sip of milk. I already had a plan in mind. This contract isn't just us playing house. Its real purpose is to deal with any potential trouble from your parents in the future. Hearing the word parents, I sharply noticed her shoulders tremble ever so slightly. Her eyes filled with panic. My parents,
What does this have to do with them?
even though you just became an adult, until you have a stable income, you're still under their absolute control. But according to Article 18 of the Civil Code, as long as you have a stable income sufficient to support yourself, you're considered to have full civil capacity. I quickly swiped on my phone screen, pulled up the relevant legal clauses, and showed them to her. Simply put, as long as you have this job, you have the right to refuse any forced interference from your parents. If they try to force you, you can use the law to protect yourself. Is this really true? Outsiders simply couldn't imagine the kind of bloodless murder that family committed, how their cold violence had once pushed her to a dead end. Right now, looking at the law, I finally saw the gloom in her eyes completely dissipate, radiating an unprecedented vitality. Now, do you see the benefits of it? Be a good girl and sign it after you finish eating. But 6,000 yuan a month is really too much. My mom only makes 3,000 a month. I can't even do a good job as a maid. How about we cut it in half?
You silly girl. You eat my food and live in my house.
Won't I just end up getting this money back from you anyway? This number is just written for outsiders to see. The money is all mine in the end, you know? Then I'm relieved. Seeing her instantly relax, happily eating the bowl of rib rice in her hands, it seemed like even the grains of rice had become incredibly sweet and fragrant. I couldn't resist teasing her again. I'm just kidding. I won't short you a single cent. If you think it's too much, then from now on, well, just use your salary for all the household expenses. Let me experience the intense thrill of being a kept man. All right then. I, Byway, promise that from now on, I'll use my salary to keep my classmate Gunan Cheng for the rest of his life. Let's record a video of this meal as proof. After the meal, in a great mood, she signed the contract. She even hummed a soft tune, forcefully kicked me out of the kitchen, and happily put on gloves to wash the dishes herself. The living room returned to its usual quiet. I suddenly remembered last night. I brought some calming herbs back from my grandparents' place. The elders said putting this under your pillow helps you sleep better. I was so busy yesterday that I completely forgot. I walked into the guest room. She had already made the bed neatly. A faint, gentle fragrance lingered in the air. I walked straight to the window and casually lifted the pillow. But my gaze instantly froze. A cold fruit knife was lying quietly under the pillow. My pupils suddenly shrank, compared to what the forensic doctor in my previous life determined as the murder weapon that killed her. It's an almost perfect match. This is absolutely not a knife from my house. From the moment she was wandering the streets in the rain until she came here, she had been carrying this knife with her the whole time. Countless images from my past life exploded violently in my mind. The possibility of suicide was completely ruled out because the angle of the wound was completely wrong. But if the murder weapon was something she brought herself, then the people I previously cleared of suspicion because they weren't carrying a weapon. The bullies who tormented Ye Zi, the thugs, the passing drifters, the delivery guys, or even just a random passerby, because the weapon was on her. Anyone passing through that area on the night of the murder could have snatched the knife and committed the crime. All of my previous deductions were completely overturned in this very moment. That knife isn't. I just finished doing the dishes. I didn't know when she had appeared at the door. Seeing me standing there dazed with the pillow in my hand, and seeing the exposed fruit knife on the bed, extreme panic instantly surged in her eyes, terrified that I would misunderstand. It's okay. You don't need to explain it to me. A girl living out there all alone. It's a good thing to be this safety conscious. I pulled her into a tight embrace, feeling her stiffness and helplessness. And through my deep gaze, I wanted to tell her, rest easy, it's okay. I'm here now. In this life, I swear I will absolutely not let tragedy repeat itself. So we can be together and live without any more regrets. Whether I let her into my house, let her stay, or found the self-defense knife hidden under her pillow, I didn't mind at all. My tolerance and trust made Bai Wei feel a lump in her throat. She had 1,000 words of gratitude she wanted to say to me, but she couldn't utter a single one. In Bai Wei's ears, her grandmother's words echoed, "You only need to meet the right person once in your life." When she was little and didn't understand why her parents always fought, that was how her grandmother answered her. Now she finally understood, even though this kind of happiness is something many people struggle to find in a lifetime. She felt incredibly lucky in her heart to have met me. She took a few deep breaths. To calm herself down, she slowly walked over to the bed, took the knife that once gave her a sense of security, and quietly tucked it away in the drawer. From now on, she wouldn't need this cold object anymore. Back in the living room, I was taking 2 cups of yogurt out of the fridge. I smiled, opened one, and held the yogurt-covered lid up to her mouth. Having some yogurt after a meal is good for your health. Lick it, don't waste it. Bai Wei stared blankly at the lid right in front of her. Under the warm yellow light, I smiled at her,
waving the lid in my hand.
Her ears burned red, and she obediently parted her lips, leaning in toward the plastic. The moment her tongue scooped up the yogurt, the sweet and sour taste spread across her taste buds. Looking at her adorable, kitten-like demeanor, I was momentarily dazed. I was afraid you wouldn't be used to the plain flavor. So I opened the sweetened one for you. How is it? It's really good. I opened my own cup and gulped it down. She saw a smudge of yogurt on my mouth and instinctively took a tissue to gently wipe it off for me. After doing that, she suddenly realized how intimate the gesture was, hastily took a step back, and shyly sat back down on the sofa, holding the yogurt cup with both hands, slowly taking small sips. Even though she looked like she was obediently drinking her yogurt, I knew all her attention was focused on me. I looked at her with amusement, my gaze sliding up from her trembling knees, making her self-consciously expose her ankles. As she subconsciously rubbed them together. I saw right through her fluster, found it incredibly endearing. So I smiled and sat down next to her. Hey there, Miss Nanny. Mind lending me your shoulder for a quick nap? Lying down right after eating is uncomfortable. So having someone to lean on is perfect. Bai Wei blushed and nodded. When I gently leaned against her, a lock of my hair brushed against her collarbone, and her whole body instantly stiffened, as if her blood had stopped flowing. My breath fanned across her neck, and she could only hold her breath, trying to match my rhythm. These 5 minutes felt both fleeting and agonizingly long to her. The gentle breeze from the window ruffled her hair, and a few strands fell onto my forehead, making me frown slightly. She playfully reached out to pinch the strand of hair, lightly brushing it across my forehead. As a result, I shifted my body, burying my forehead into her cheek, half my head resting against her chest. Suddenly catching a whiff of a unique scent, I snapped my eyes open. Realizing my current position, I hurriedly sat up straight. I actually fell asleep. Sorry. I didn't mean to take advantage of you. You keep saying I'm not in good spirits? But I think you're the same, since you fell asleep so quickly leaning on me. Just sleep a little longer. Feeling her hand cupping my cheek, gently patting it, I smiled, didn't say anything else, and peacefully closed my eyes again. In my past life as a homicide detective, I always had to stay alert, so I was a very light sleeper. This was the first time I was next to someone and could fall asleep so quickly and feel so at ease. Gradually, in the gentle breeze, she also leaned against my head and drifted off to sleep, sleeping soundly. I didn't know when I had slid down, resting my head on her soft lap. At this moment, I was slightly turned on my side, as if hugging a pillow, my arms wrapped tightly around her slender waist. Bai Wei slowly woke up, and seeing this scene, her small face instantly flushed bright red. But she didn't resist at all. Instead, she gently placed her hand on my back, looking at me, clinging to her like a puppy. She only felt completely captivated. Ring. The alarm suddenly went off, jolting me awake from my dream. As soon as I woke up, I realized I was hugging something soft, with my head still resting on her lap, and I immediately jumped off the sofa in shock. Be careful. Since when did I become such a terrible sleeper? I scratched my head, looking completely bewildered. I hurriedly went to the bathroom to wash my face, and when I came out, I saw her smiling at me, not minding my abruptness just now at all. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. Honestly, I was afraid my overly intimate actions would upset her, making her feel wronged. Now that I confirmed her affection for me was high enough, I made a decision. Let's go. We're going to your house to get your luggage. As dusk fell, the setting sun in the west cast a stifling orange-red glow over Bai Wei's old apartment complex, the closer we got to her house. The more I could feel Bai Wei beside me, walking with increasingly stiff steps. Her heartbeat seemed to echo in this quiet hallway. A few neighbors coming and going kept sweeping their gazes over our faces. "Oh, Zhao Wei, your boyfriend is so handsome," the gossipy woman from downstairs threw out a teasing remark. Bai Wei's face turned bright red.
Ah,
She didn't deny it at all, just lowered her head even further. I ignored the gossip, held her hand, and walked straight up to the 4th floor. At this point, Bai Wei didn't even realize that she hadn't been leading the way at all. Yet, I stopped exactly in front of her door. Arriving at room 402, Bai Wei took out her keys, her hands trembling so much she couldn't fit them into the lock. I could guess just how heavy the click of the lock opening felt to her. Her mind was completely blank right now, having no idea what awaited her behind that door. Seeing her standing there frozen, too afraid to open the door, I just reached out and turned the knob for her. As the door swung open, the house was dead silent. Bai Wei breathed a sigh of relief. Not having to face her mother directly made her tense nerves relax a little. Just when we thought no one was home, a bedroom door suddenly
Opened.
a boy around 7 years old walked out. It was her half-brother, Li Mingyu. "Sis, where have you been these past few days?" "I went to a friend's house." "Xiao Yu, where are mom and dad?" Even though her parents treated her terribly, she always saw this little brother as family. It's just that every time she saw him, she was reminded of her parents' blatant favoritism, doting on her brother while neglecting her, which always left her with incredibly mixed feelings. "Mom and dad are at the hospital. Mom should be back soon to cook dinner. Is this handsome guy your boyfriend?" Hearing her brother say that, Bai Wei's cheeks flushed pink, and she subconsciously glanced at me. Seeing I had no reaction, she didn't explain either. But hearing that her mother was coming back soon, she immediately panicked and decided to pack her things quickly. As for me, hearing the word hospital, the bloody truth hidden in that stormy night once again surfaced in my and Bai Wei's memories. Last Friday night, Li Fengji had forced Bai Wei to show her phone and found the photos Bai Wei had secretly taken of me in her gallery. Li Fengji's mental state, already highly unstable due to her ex-husband Bai Chengfeng's affair, was incredibly fragile. These photos struck her most sensitive nerve. In that moment, Li Fengji projected all her hatred for her ex-husband onto Bai Wei, using the most vicious words to humiliate her. "You shameless tramp." Under Bai Wei's despairing, aggrieved gaze, Li Fengzi completely lost her mind. She grabbed the fruit knife from the table, screaming that she would slash her daughter's face to pieces. Seeing this, her stepfather, Li Gang, desperately rushed in to grab the knife. In the struggle, the blade changed direction. Li Fengzi stumbled and plunged the knife deep into Li Gang's stomach. The metallic smell of blood finally snapped Li Fengzi back to reality, and she collapsed in the pool of blood, wailing miserably. Li Gang, risking his life to take the knife back then,
Wasn't to protect Bai Wei,
but to protect the wife he loved deeply from committing a felony. He had secretly loved Li Fengzi since childhood, in obsessive and humble love. Even if his wife went mad, he was willing to give everything to protect her, yet he didn't spare a single ounce of affection for her innocent stepdaughter. Facing her husband lying in a pool of blood, Li Fengji turned to look at the terrified Bai Wei and screamed, "You jinx! Get the hell out! Get as far away as possible." Just like that, Bai Wei, without a penny to her name, was chased out into the despairing storm, shaking her head to brush away those cruel memories. Bai Wei told her brother to go back to his room and do his homework, then pulled me into her bedroom. She dragged out a pink suitcase and started frantically packing her clothes. I looked around the room, my eyes landing on a locked notebook in her drawer. In my past life, I had opened this diary after she passed away. Inside, it was densely packed, with nothing but happy things she forced herself to write down, to give herself the courage to keep living. In this life, I didn't touch it, even though Bai Wei didn't say what to bring. Based on my understanding of her, I quietly gathered the books and notebooks she treasured the most and stacked them neatly on the desk. When she finished packing her clothes and turned around, she saw that the things I had picked out were exactly what she wanted to take, while the rest were left behind. She froze, an indescribable wave of emotion welling up in her eyes. It turned out that while she was silently watching this boy, he was also paying such delicate attention to her. After packing everything, Bai Wei took out a piece of paper and left a short note. We rolled the suitcase out of the room, and Bai Wei placed the note on the dining table. Just as we turned to head for the front door, click. The front door lock suddenly turned. The next second, the door was pushed open, and Li Fengji's figure appeared right in the doorway. The air instantly froze. Bai Wei's hand gripping the suitcase trembled violently. Li Fengzi also stood stunned in place. It wasn't until Li Mingyu heard the noise, opened his door, and called out, "Mom, I'm hungry," that the silence was broken. Li Fengzi suppressed her anger, coaxing her son back into his room. The moment the bedroom door closed, her expression instantly turned cold, glaring at Bai Wei with deep suspicion.
What do you think you're doing?
"You're all grown up now. Your wings are fully fledged. I can't control you anymore. Found yourself a man and now you're planning to run away. Is that it? Bai Wei bit her lip, not saying a word. Last Friday night, the words get as far away as possible were still ringing in her ears. Do you know how much I suffered carrying you? How hard it was to give birth to you? Now you're just going to dust off your hands and leave. Did you even ask me? Do you even have this mother in your eyes anymore? Tears streamed down her face. Bai Wei wasn't crying because she was being scolded, but because her heart was breaking. The last shred of hope for her mother's tenderness shattered in this very moment to preserve her last bit of dignity. She didn't want to get into a screaming match with her mother. Seeing her looking so wronged, silently shedding tears, I stepped forward coldly. Standing firmly in front of her, Auntie, Bai Wei being pushed to this point isn't her choice. It's because you and Uncle single-handedly drove her into a corner. I've already looked into it through your teachers. Don't you try to sweet-talk me? I know what you rich little brats are all like. She turned to Bai Wei, feigning heartbreak.
Ah,
Hez handsome and has money. His cut from the exact same cloth as your father. When he likes you, hell spoil you rotten. But once Hez bored, hell kick you to the curb without a second thought. Ah, your mother is a living example right here. Can't you see? Sooner or later, hell get tired of you and dump you. It's not too late for you to wake up now. Hearing these venomous assumptions, Bai Wei looked at me with tear-filled eyes. She didn't believe I was that kind of person. Besides, we hadn't even defined our relationship yet. I took a deep breath and used my sleeve to gently wipe away Bai Wei's tears. I've never made empty promises about loving someone for 10,000 years. I only know that to love is to cherish the present. Auntie, it's true that no one can guarantee the future. But I know one thing. As long as Bai Wei is with me, what she receives and keeps will be happy memories. That is enough. I don't care what kind of smooth talk you use. I'm strictly warning you. Stay away from my daughter. I'm also strictly warning you, Auntie. Bai Wei is an adult, and she has a job with a stable income. Legally speaking, she has the right to break free from your control. If you care about her as a mother, I'll always welcome it. But if you just want her to keep being your puppet, then I'm sorry. I absolutely won't allow it. Li Fengzi tremblingly picked up the note, and seeing the words monthly salary of 6,000 yuan, her pupils shrank. She suddenly realized that within her daughter's frail body hid such a fierce will to resist. Oh, great. You think having money makes you so tough? Don't talk to me about the law. If you dare take her away, I'll call the cops to your house. Even if you call the cops, we're still in the right. But have you thought about the consequences of doing that? Xiao Yu is still young. I'm sure you don't want your actions to cause him to be gossiped about and ostracized by his friends at school. Every word was a fatal strike. My words had completely hit Li Fengji's weak spot. She felt she owed her current husband too much and absolutely couldn't let her husband and son be dragged down because of her. Fine. Just fine. Both of you, get the hell out. You remember this? Wait until this rich boy gets tired of playing with you. Don't come crying back begging me. You think you've made it into a gilded cage? It won't be long before you regret it. I bent down and picked up the largest piece of broken porcelain, its sharp edge pressing a red mark into my palm. Auntie, I'm not building a cage for her. I'll take care of her like a canary, but I'll teach her how to grow her wings and fly to her own world. My words moved Bai Wei deeply. With tears still clinging to her lashes, she suddenly bravely grabbed my wrist and followed me out. You're all a bunch of ungrateful wretches. Go, just go. Looking at her mother's aged, haggard appearance, Bai Wei's eyes welled with tears, but she forced down her reluctance and said, Mom, I'm leaving. Everything I want to say is in the note on the table. She pulled her suitcase and quickly walked out the door. She was afraid that if she stayed even a second longer, she wouldn't have the resolve to leave. Reaching the stair landing, the motion sensor hallway light clicked on. Suddenly, a hoarse cry rang out from upstairs.
Ching ching.
This cry startled the flock of sparrows on the windowsill, sending them flying. Bai Wei's whole body jolted, the wheels of her suitcase catching on the stairs. I could clearly feel her stiff fingers like frozen butterfly wings, along with the sound of hurried footsteps. Li Fengji, rushing downstairs too fast, stumbled and tumbled down. Her forehead even hit the wall, drawing blood. Ching, don't go. It's Mom's fault. Mom was wrong. Mom won't scold you anymore. Hearing the name Ching, Bai Wei instantly couldn't hold back anymore. Tears streamed down her face. Eas, she threw herself into her mother's arms. Watching this scene, I was shocked to realize that the Li Fengzi in front of me was like a completely different person. Her demeanor, tone, and actions. I only found out later that Li Fengzi, due to extreme trauma, had developed dissociative identity disorder only in very rare moments. When Bai Wei appeared incredibly vulnerable, would the third personality who loved her daughter deeply emerge, and the name Ching she called out was the very sign of this mother's return. I'm sorry. I still have to go. I really can't stand the days without you anymore. Bai Wei knew that her mother would very quickly turn back into that irritable person, so she was even more determined to leave. She wanted to study psychology, precisely in the hope of healing her mother, so that this mother who truly loved her could stay forever. Auntie, if you truly love Bai Wei, Please rest assured and leave her to me. I promise I won't let her suffer the slightest grievance. I'm a useless mother. This girl has never been used to voicing her grievances since she was little. So please, take good care of her and look after her. Li Fengzi bowed deeply, clasping my hand and Bai Wei's tightly together. Her hands were ice cold, but they made our skin burn hot. She finally touched the Teru Bozu doll on Bai Wei's suitcase and waved goodbye to us affectionately. Bai Wei looked back every 3 steps, but her tears had been replaced by a relieved smile. Bai Wei completely dropped her guard. He is excited as a reborn bird, with one hand pulling her luggage, and the other tightly hugging my arm. She happily leaned her whole body against me, the soft sensation transmitting from her arm infected me too, and I couldn't help but smile along. In the taxi heading home, even the driver noticed her change in mood, teasing that she must have won the lottery. But deep down, I felt a bit uneasy. Before getting in the car, I distinctly felt, if someone was secretly watching me.
What are you looking at?
Nothing. I smiled and shook my head. Was it really just my imagination? I glanced out the car window one last time, pushing down the suspicion in my heart. The bell for evening self-study had just rung, and the classroom was filled with the smell of ink and the stressful sound of flipping pages. Bai Wei sat to my right, focused on correcting her mistake notebook. Since this afternoon, after escaping that stifling house, her whole being was like a plant finally seeing the sun. Even her hair seemed to exude a sense of lightness. But I couldn't relax. Ever since we got out of the taxi, that chilling sensation of being stalked by a venomous snake had persistently clung to me. My 10 years of criminal investigation intuition told me that the stalker had followed us into the school. I pretended to casually spin the pen in my hand, but my eyes were glued to the reflection on the classroom's front door glass. The motion sensor light in the hallway hadn't turned off yet, which meant someone was standing in the camera's blind spot, quietly observing us. Nancheng, for this physics force analysis problem, I keep feeling like it's missing a friction force. Could you take a look for me? As she leaned in close, bringing a faint citrus scent with her. I took the scratch paper, but out of the corner of my eye in that split second, I caught a glimpse on the front door glass of a figure in a black raincoat flashing by. The figure quickly shrank back behind the wall. You missed the static friction here, but there's no rush for this problem. Away. Listen to me. For the next 5 minutes, no matter what happens, just sit tight. Absolutely do not leave the classroom.
What's wrong?
Where?
Where are you going?
Don't be afraid. I'm going to catch a lingering ghost that's been following us all the way here. Remember, the classroom is crowded, so it's the safest place for you.
Wait for me to get back?
Not giving Bai Wei a chance to ask anything else. I abruptly stood up, pushed my chair back, and quickly walked out the back door. The moment I stepped into the hallway, the gentle look on my face instantly vanished, replaced by the signature coldness of the homicide captain from my past life, the one who used to strike terror into the hearts of serial killers. I deliberately walked with heavy steps, heading toward the old laboratory building, the most secluded spot at the end of the corridor. The lighting there was dim, and the cameras had been broken for a long time. If the stalker wanted to make a move, that was the perfect hunting ground. Sure enough, as I stepped into the chilling connecting hallway to the labs, very light footsteps echoed behind me, deliberately keeping their heels off the ground. The sound of rubber soles scraping against the terrazzo floor was infinitely amplified in the empty hallway. I sneered. The prey took the bait. I suddenly pushed open the door to the old chemistry lab, slipped into the blind spot behind the door, and held my breath. 10 seconds later, the door was slowly pushed open by a rough hand. A faint beam from a flashlight shone in. Now's the time. Like a hunting leopard, I lunged out from behind the door, my left hand striking with precision, tightly gripping the opponent's flashlight holding wrist, and using my finger strength to twist it sharply outward. Along with a groan of pain, the flashlight dropped to the floor. I didn't stop for a second. My right hand quickly clamped down on the back of his neck, and using his forward momentum, I drove my knee hard into his stomach. This set of close-quarters combat techniques was completely ruthless. In an absolute overwhelming strike, the stalker instantly lost all ability to resist, curling up in agony as he collapsed to the ground. I planted one foot on his chest, pinning him firmly to the floor. Then I bent down, picked up the flashlight, and shined it straight into his face. When I clearly saw that face contorted in pain, my pupils suddenly shrank.
Li Gang.
The person lying on the ground was actually Bai Wei's stepfather, the man who on that stormy night last Friday took a knife to the gut to protect his crazed wife. Right now, his abdominal wound clearly hadn't healed. He was in so much pain he was breaking out in a cold sweat. Yet he still used his bloodshot eyes to glare fiercely at me. And from the pocket of his raincoat, a sharp, pointed knife had fallen out. Auntie is still recovering in the hospital. Yet instead of resting properly in your hospital bed, you drag your unhealed wound, dress like this, and run to the school to stalk me. What exactly are you trying to do?
Why are you protecting her like this?
This afternoon, after you left, Fengji completely broke down at the hospital, constantly banging her head against the bed rails. If the doctors hadn't intervened in time and injected her with sedatives, she simply wouldn't have survived. As long as Bai Wei is in this city for even one more day, Fengji will never get better. She has to disappear from this city completely. I want her gone. Looking at Li Gang's crazed state, the fragmented doubts from my past life frantically resurfaced in this moment. On that stormy night in my past life, the person in the raincoat who perfectly dodged all the cameras and ruthlessly attacked Bai Wei in that dead-end alley. Could it be that it wasn't some random thug, but this very stepfather who had lost all reason for his wife? Could it be that on that night, just like today, he ignored his wounds, sneaked out of the hospital, stalked Bai Wei, and then viciously struck? I made a split-second decision. Without another word, I directly called the police. On charges of carrying a deadly weapon, stalking, and attempted assault, I sent Li Gang into the back of a police car. But watching the police car drive away with its sirens wailing, a string in my heart remained pulled taut, unable to relax at all. The next morning, I took half a day off, and relying on my father's connections in the city, under the guise of a family member confirming an injury status, I managed to get into the city hospital security room. Without concrete evidence proving he was the killer, I didn't dare jump to any conclusions. After all, during the investigation in my past life, his motive was ruled out first. And moreover, he had an airtight alibi. I had to confirm with my own eyes.
What exactly Li Gang was doing?
On that stormy night last Friday,
Sir, could you please pull up the emergency surgery hallway camera?
from 8 to 10 p.m. last Friday, the screen flickered and switched scenes. 8:15 p.m., Li Gang, covered in blood, was wheeled into the operating room. 8:40 p.m., the red light above the operating room was still on. A few nurses went in and out to get blood bags. 9:20 p.m., Li Gang was wheeled out of the operating room, hooked up to tubes, and taken into the ICU. All the way until 11 p.m. No one went in or out of the ICU doors. A severely injured person couldn't possibly have jumped from a third-floor hospital balcony. My mind felt like it had been struck by lightning, and my limbs instantly turned ice cold. The forensic examiner estimated that Bai Wei's time of death in my past life was around 10:30 p.m. that night. An ironclad alibi. On that stormy night in my past life, Li Gang was lying on the operating table. He absolutely couldn't have cloned himself to chase Bai Wei into that alley. If the killer wasn't her stepfather Li Gang, then who was it? As I walked out of the hospital gates, the glaring midday sun made me squint slightly. Li Gang's perfect alibi weighed on my heart like a boulder. The killer from the storm in my past life. Who on earth was it? The fear of the enemy being in the dark while I was in the light made me even more anxious than facing a demon head-on. Pushing the door open and entering the house, the room was quiet, the air carrying a faint scent of body wash. I stepped lightly into the guest bedroom. Bai Wei was curled up in the blankets taking a nap. She was sleeping restlessly, her long eyelashes trembling slightly, her hands still subconsciously gripping the edge of the blanket. Looking at her peaceful yet fragile sleeping figure, the anger in my heart dissipated by more than half. I walked over, intending to pull the slipped blanket back over her. But just as I looked up, my gaze swept past the living room window, and my movements abruptly stopped. The afternoon sun slanted against the glass, and on the outside of the window, a faint handprint was clearly visible, obviously left by dust. The hairs on my body instantly stood on end. I held my breath, immediately turned around, opened the door, and circled around to the lawn outside. Sure enough, at the edge of the lawn outside the living room window, a few decorative plants had been trampled and bent. A messy trail of footprints was stamped into the dirt, and the direction of the footprints, it's straight to the window where Bai Wei was sleeping. My heart pounded wildly. That person had just been standing here, and had even placed their hand on the glass. Through this thin pane of glass, he had been staring intently at the girl sleeping soundly inside. A sense of danger engulfed me like a tidal wave. To think they actually followed us all the way here, even though the complex had security, it couldn't guard against a malicious person deliberately hiding. I absolutely couldn't just sit and wait. That afternoon, I went straight to an electronics store and bought 3 large boxes of high-end equipment: infrared, night vision, high-definition cameras, and vibration sensor alarms for the windowsills. I carried the A-frame ladder myself, going in and out around the house and living room, drilling walls and running wires. Bai Wei was woken up by the noise.
Wearing her baggy pajamas.
She rubbed her sleepy eyes and walked out of the room. What are you doing?
Why did you buy so many cameras?
I'm a bit paranoid. The first floor is convenient, but it's better to install a few more anti-theft devices. Come here, hold the ladder for me. Are you afraid it's not safe for me to be home alone? You know the answer? Why ask? When installing the camera in the corner of the living room ceiling, I needed a high vantage point. Bai Wei stood on her tiptoes, trying to hand me the extension cord, because her movement was too big. Her delicate collarbone and a patch of fair skin were exposed. Looking down from above, my eyes accidentally swept over it, and my throat instantly went a bit dry. All right, hold it steady. I'm coming down now. As I climbed down the ladder, I accidentally glanced again. Bai Wei noticed my gaze, her face instantly flushing red, and she let out a yelp. Letting go of the ladder, I lost my balance and fell, and Bai Wei hurriedly reached out to catch me. I went with the momentum and leaned over, half my body weight pressing onto her, pulling her into my arms. Be careful. Did you sprain your ankle? My ankle is fine. I was just startled just now. So my legs are a bit weak. Miss Nanny, you failed to protect your master. You have to take responsibility.
Who told you to be a creep?
She said that?
But her slender hands hesitated for a moment, and finally gently rested on my lower back, embracing the warmth and fragrance in my arms, making the tense, anxious nerves I'd had all day temporarily settle down. After dinner, I sat on the sofa, adjusting the split screen of the surveillance system on my computer. Bai Wei washed a plate of fresh strawberries, obediently sat beside me, and used a toothpick to skewer the biggest one, bringing it to my mouth. I turned my head to look at the screen. The lawn outside the window, the surrounding blind spots, every possible entry point, were all covered by high-definition cameras with 0 blind spots. As long as the phantom who left those footprints dared to show up, I would definitely make sure he couldn't escape. Bai Wei, from now on when you're home, unless it's me using my key to open the door. Don't answer if anyone knocks, remember? Absolutely anyone. Yeah, I remember. The afternoon sun made the asphalt road a bit hot. Bai Wei walked beside me wearing her backpack, her ponytail swaying with her steps. Ever since she moved into my apartment and escaped that stifling house, her steps had become much lighter. Occasionally, she would lean in close to share with me the mistakes she made on her assignments today, but I couldn't relax at all. That persistent needle-like feeling of being watched had been clinging to the back of my neck ever since we walked out the gates of the complex. Walk a bit further inside. There are a lot of cars on the outside. Nanching. What's wrong? Your palms are all sweaty. It's nothing. I was messing around with those cameras at noon, so I didn't get to rest. Let's hurry. The first period this afternoon is with the homeroom teacher. Well, get scolded if we're late. I acted nonchalant, but out of the corner of my eye, I quickly scanned the shops and lawns along the street. There was no one in the blind spots, but that slimy feeling of being stalked by a venomous snake absolutely couldn't be wrong. As soon as we entered the school gates, Zhang Yan's signature loud voice rang out from the shade of the teaching building. He ran up to me, his face flushed red, so excited he could barely speak. Nanchang. Oh my god, you're an absolute god. The tip you gave about that wanted criminal actually turned out to be real. The police station is in total chaos right now, saying that guy is the one who's been on the run across 3 provinces, with several lives on his hands. Did they catch him? At the mention of this, Zhang Yan's excited face instantly deflated by half. That place is seriously cursed. The cops locked down the entire Old Town district, surrounded it 3 layers deep without a single gap. We couldn't even get close. But in the end, that guy just vanished into thin air. I heard his anti-reconnaissance skills are insane. A few minutes before the net closed in, he jumped into the sewer and escaped through the pipes. My heart skipped a beat. Zhang Yan's words were like a cold scalpel, instantly severing any hope I had of getting lucky. The serial killer from my past life, although not directly related to Bai Wei's end, was a ruthless madman, incredibly cunning. The fact that he could escape the police blockade proved he was hiding in the shadows of this city, like a startled wild beast. Today, I recalled this noon. Outside the living room window, faint, dusty fingerprints, and a messy trail of footprints on the lawn. If the real killer from that rainy night in my past life hasn't shown up yet, then the person climbing outside my window this noon, could it be this desperate criminal? Is he on the run from the manhunt, randomly picking my house?
A wealthy-looking place to hide out.
Or is he out for revenge against the informant, secretly scouting the location? Zhang Yan, listen to me carefully. For the time being, other than school and the hospital, don't go anywhere else.
What's wrong, bro?
I got the reward money. I was gonna treat you to some skewers. Look at your face. That wanted criminal isn't just a murderer. He's a lunatic with no bottom line. You provided the clue and got the money. Once he catches wind of it and finds out you called the cops, the first people hell come after are you and your aunt. No, it wouldn't go that far, right? I mean, after all, the number of people Hez killed is more than the amount of blood you've ever seen. Cut the crap. Go straight to the hospital after school and lock your aunt's ward tight. No matter who calls, don't go out. Got it, bro. Don't scare me, man. My worthless life doesn't matter, but my mom can't handle the shock. After seeing Zhang Yan off, I stood in the shadows of the corridor, watching Bai Wei quietly reading in the classroom. A chill ran down my spine. The suspicion around Li Gang has been cleared, but the real killer from that rainy night is still hiding. And now, there's a serial killer on the loose. 2 unknown threats intertwined, closing in on us. I touched the phone in my pocket, which was quietly running the surveillance feed of my house, no matter whose footprints are outside the window. As long as you dare to show up, I'll make you pay. After evening self-study, Bai Wei and I walked side by side on the way home. Even though the night breeze was a bit chilly, She seemed to really enjoy the sense of security of having someone walk with her. All the way, she cheerfully told me funny stories from class. Once home, Bai Wei took the initiative to put on an apron and head into the kitchen. Not long after, 2 steaming bowls of tomato and egg noodles and a few side dishes were served on the table. Nan Cheng, hurry up and try it. I added the fried eggs you like today. I even made sure to fry the edges a bit crispy. As long as you made it, I eat it all even if it were poison. There you go, talking nonsense again. Eat up. The noodles are getting cold. The warm yellow light of the dining room shone on her flushed cheeks, casting a soft halo. I ate the noodles with relish, enjoying this fleeting moment of peace. After dinner, Bai Wei went into the bathroom, and the sound of running water echoed. I leaned back on the sofa, unlocked my phone, and accessed the yard surveillance system I had just installed. On the screen, the night vision infrared clearly illuminated the lawn around the house. I casually reviewed the afternoon's footage. Suddenly, my eyes froze. Around 6 p.m. before we got home, a strange man wearing a baseball cap was loitering on the lawn outside my house for over 10 minutes. He even peeked into the window a few times. I immediately zoomed in on the image, carefully trying to identify his face. This guy was a bit chubby, with drooping eyes. In my mind, I quickly flashed back to the wanted poster released by the police. It's not him. The wanted criminal is a skinny guy with very high cheekbones. It's not the fugitive. Then where did this rat crawl out from? Could it be the real killer from my past life? Scouting the place, this feeling of an enemy in the dark made me extremely uneasy. A serial killer on the loose. The unknown killer from the rainy night in my past life. And now a stranger lurking around in broad daylight. I felt like I was at the center of a massive dark vortex. The clock struck 1 a.m. The entire neighborhood was dead silent. I lay on the bed in the master bedroom, even though my eyes were closed. My nerves remained on high alert. As tense as when I was a homicide detective in my past life. Suddenly, a click. A very faint sound came from outside, followed by very light footsteps, deliberately tiptoeing, slowly approaching the living room window. My eyes snapped open instantly, like a panther waking up, silently rolling out of bed. I stepped onto the floor without making a single sound. Pressing against the wall, I inched my way to the blind spot of the living room window. Under the faint moonlight, through the gap in the curtains, I vaguely saw a skinny, dark figure sneaking up against the wall of my house. The figure's hands seemed to be groping for something on the windowsill, even trying to gently push the window open. Every muscle in my body was tense to the limit. If he made any suspicious move, I would rush out immediately and take him down. But I held back, not wanting to alert him. I wanted to see what exactly he was up to, and if he had accomplices. Seconds ticked by. The dark figure stood outside the window for about 2 or 3 minutes, seemingly realizing the window was locked from the inside. Or perhaps sensing danger, he suddenly stopped, turned around, and quickly vanished into the neighborhood's lawn. My instinct was to open the door and chase after him. But as my hand touched the doorknob, I froze and stopped. I looked back at the tightly shut guest bedroom door. Bai Wei was still fast asleep, compared to catching this rat. Bai Wei's absolute safety was my top priority. I suppressed the urge to strike, turned around to the coffee table, quickly opened the surveillance computer, and reviewed the infrared footage of that spot. The video started rewinding. The dark figure appeared on the screen. This high-end security system had a very high resolution. Even the wrinkles on his clothes were captured clearly. I glued my eyes to the screen, dragging the progress bar to the moment the dark figure turned to leave. Right as he abruptly turned his head, the infrared camera caught a full frontal shot of his face. The moment I saw that face clearly, my pupils shrank, my mind buzzed, feeling like someone had smashed a heavy club into my head. That face, always hidden behind thick hair, carrying a hint of timidity and loneliness.
YZZ.
Why is it him?
The guy known as the class punching bag, always bullied by thugs.
Why would he, in the dead of night,
be sneaking around like a ghost outside my window? The faint blue light from the computer screen illuminated my face. I didn't turn on the lights, sitting alone in the dark on the sofa, my fingers unconsciously tapping on my knee. My brain, like a high-speed computer, frantically sorted through this mess of seemingly unrelated events. The strange chubby guy during the day,
Yeezy at night.
and the faint, dusty handprint on the guest bedroom window.
What exactly is the connection between these three?
If the handprint was left by the chubby guy during the day,
why did he only loiter on the lawn?
without making any further moves, who sent him? I took a deep breath, temporarily setting aside the clue about the chubby guy. My eyes were glued to the screen. To Yee's face, compared to the chubby guy of unknown origin. Yee's appearance gave me the creeps even more. A guy at school with a loner personality. Submissive who wouldn't even dare resist when extorted by thugs. Why would he, at 1 a.m., display such proficient stealth skills, appearing like a ghost outside my window? Once my detective intuition was triggered, the overlooked details from my past life came flooding back, like a tidal wave. I recalled the stormy night from my past life. That night, Yeezy was also near the scene. He was cornered and beaten by those thugs in a dead-end alley, and Bai Wei, because she left the convenience store. and saw that scene, walked toward that fateful alley. In my past life, I always thought Yi Z was just an unlucky victim who happened to be there. But now, this victim in the middle of the night sneaked up outside my window. Could it be? The killer in the rain from my past life, who snatched Bai Wei's knife and ruthlessly murdered her, was actually Ye Z. As soon as this thought flashed, my sharp criminal logic quickly reanalyzed it. I closed my eyes, trying to recall the situation after Bai Wei died. The whole school was in shock. The police came to the school every day to take statements. Every student was in a panic. But what about Yi Z, the Ye Z of my past life? In the days after Bai Wei's passing, remained like an invisible person sitting in the corner of the classroom. He didn't show any panic, not even the slightest abnormal emotional fluctuation. His calmness was like a pool of stagnant water. That's not right. I understand criminal psychology too well. Facing the police and intense investigations, he couldn't possibly hide it completely. Behind that fake calmness, it would require a terrifyingly strong psychological fortitude and bottomless cunning. A teenager who trembles in fear when beaten and scolded by thugs. How could he possess the psychological fortitude? On par with a psychopath. If he really is that cunning, then his weak, easily bullied facade, school, is all fake. Hez like a venomous snake in sheep's clothing, quietly lurking beside everyone, coldly observing it all. The clock on the wall ticked away. I felt a shudder. If Yeezy really was that cold-blooded killer in my past life, then his appearance here tonight, does it mean that, in this life, he is already marked by Wei and me? S is his prey playing tricks. Whether you're a man or a ghost under that mask, I'm going to expose you. I stood up, walked to the guest bedroom door, and gently confirmed it was locked tight. Hearing Bai Wei's steady breathing inside, I silently clenched my fists. This ticking time bomb is right in our class. I absolutely cannot ignore it. I've made up my mind. Tomorrow at school, I have to find Ye Zi, tear off his harmless disguise, and uncover the truth about that stormy night. And tonight, the morning sun pierced through the thin curtains on the balcony, casting a warm patch of light on the wooden floor. I opened the bedroom door. The sizzling sound of bacon came from the kitchen, along with the aroma of toast. Bai Wei,
wearing a white hoodie,
was on her tiptoes, busy at the kitchen counter. The golden sunlight outlined her slender, gentle figure. This scene was so beautiful it almost made me forget the horror of last night.
You're awake.
Go wash up! The sandwiches are almost done. I made sure to add the extra cheese you like today. So capable. Whoever marries you in the future must have been blessed by their ancestors in their past life. Teasing me first thing in the morning. Hurry up and go wash your face. After washing up, I sat at the dining table, watching her take a small bite of the sandwich. A bit of white mayonnaise accidentally got stuck to the corner of her mouth. I didn't say anything to remind her, but just reached out and gently wiped the sauce off the corner of her mouth with my thumb. Eating like a little kitten, I can wipe it myself. This warm moment felt like the final calm before the storm. I downed the last gulp of milk, hiding the ghost from last night's camera deep in my eyes, no matter how many monsters and demons are out there. In this house, I only want to bring her absolute light. After breakfast, Bai Wei and I walked side by side. On the tree-lined path to school, it was rush hour, and the streets were packed with traffic. Students in uniform and commuters were hurrying along. But just as we crossed a red light intersection, that familiar, nauseating feeling, like a venomous snake flicking its tongue, latched onto the back of my neck again. Every muscle in my body instantly tensed up. This feeling was too obvious. Hidden in the passing crowd, a pair of extremely cold eyes was staring intently at Bai Wei's and my backs. Bai Wei, your backpack strap seems loose. Let me fix it for you. Taking advantage of fixing her strap, my eyes scanned like radar, quickly sweeping over the reflection in the newsstand mirror at the corner, the blind spot behind the bus stop, and even the windows of the cars parked along the street. Too many people. Complex line of sight. I couldn't immediately find the rat hiding in the shadows, but I knew he was nearby. Thanks, Nan Cheng. It's much more comfortable wearing it like this. Let's go. Class is about to start. Accompanied by that persistent feeling of being watched, we finally walked into the classroom, which was echoing with the sound of reading. I told Bai Wei to go to her seat first, while I stood at the back door of the classroom. My eyes, sharp as daggers, instantly locked onto the last row of the class. That seat that usually shrank into the shadows. My heart sank. That seat was empty. The desk was clean, without a single book. Dude, what are you looking at?
Oh, you mean Yazi? That gloomy guy?
He didn't come today. I heard he asked the homeroom teacher for sick leave early this morning, saying he had a high fever and couldn't get up.
Zhang Yan's casual remark
Set off a raging storm in my head. You're saying he took a leave of absence and didn't come? Yeah, dude. Why are you reacting so strongly? He gets beaten up all the time. Isn't it normal for him to take a day off?
I let go of Zhang Yan
and slowly walked back to my seat. My palms already slick with cold sweat. At 1 a.m., he appeared like a ghost outside my window. executing extremely professional stealth reconnaissance. This morning on the way to school, we felt an incredibly strong sensation of being watched. And now he has a high fever and didn't come to class. All the clues at this very moment collided in a terrifying way. If he didn't come to class, then where is he now? The answer was almost obvious. The person who followed us on the street this morning, who is now hiding in the shadows, watching us like a venomous snake, is 100% Ye Zi. The mysterious killer from the stormy night in my past life, the one who snatched Bai Wei's self-defense knife, and the creep who sneaked up to my window last night, following us on the street this morning. In my deduction, they finally overlapped into a pale, timid face with thick hair. Ye Zi, what secret are you hiding? As soon as the dismissal bell rang, I took Bai Wei to Ye Zi's home address. From the class directory. This was a very ordinary residential area. Although it was old, the environment was quite clean. Going up to the 3rd floor, I knocked on the door, but no one answered. Just as I was wondering, the neighbor opposite came out carrying a trash bag. Stopped knocking, looking for the Yi family. Early this morning, before dawn, they packed their things and moved out. I heard their relatives in the countryside had an emergency, so they returned the house. You're saying they moved out before dawn? That's right. Around 5 a.m. The moving company's truck was so noisy. It even annoyed me. Boom. The auntie's words were like a bucket of cold water, poured straight over me. Moved out before dawn. Then this morning, on the way to school with Bai Wei, that incredibly strong feeling of being watched, shadowing us. Whose was it? My mind was spinning, and my back instantly broke out in a cold sweat. If the person following us this morning wasn't Ye Zi, that means, besides Ye Zi, who sneaked up to my window last night, there is another pair of eyes, staring at us in broad daylight. Is it the strange chubby guy from the daytime? Is it the serial killer on the loose? Or the real killer from the rainy night in my past life? I suppressed my shock and unease, grabbed Bai Wei's hand, and decided to take her home first before figuring things out. When we arrived at our door, we found an uninvited guest in the hallway. It was a middle-aged man in a high-end suit, his hair slicked back without a single strand out of place. He furrowed his brows tightly, pacing back and forth with a livid face, exuding an aura
of authority and suppressed anger.
When she saw the person's face clearly, Bai Wei stiffened beside me, unconsciously gripping my hand. Dad, you still know him, your dad. Bai Chengfang lunged forward, yanking Bai Wei away from me with one hand. Bai Wei, do you know what you're doing? Your mother is lying in the hospital right now. So sick, she's out of her mind. And you have the heart to abandon her. Not only that, you're a girl. And at your age, you're following a boy. To live together outside. What do you take your reputation for? Facing her father's scolding, Bai Wei's eyes instantly turned red. But this time she didn't back down. Instead, she forcefully wrenched her hand away from Bai Chengfeng.
What right do you have to lecture me?
You were the one who abandoned my mother first back then. If it weren't for you, she wouldn't have become like this.
What do you know about adult matters?
Is the monthly allowance I give you guys not enough? Now your mother is sick, and you just run off. Now your mother is sick, and you just run off. Pack your things and come back to the Bai family with me immediately. I won't allow my daughter to be so indecent outside. I'm not going. I don't want anything to do with you. Let alone step through the doors of your Bai family. I'll find a way to treat my mother's illness. I don't need your concern. Furious, Bai Chengfeng reached out, about to grab Bai Wei's arm forcefully. I immediately took a step forward, like a solid wall, standing firmly in front of Bai Wei, coldly meeting Bai Chengfeng's gaze. President Bai Wei has made it very clear. She doesn't want to go with you. Forcing her like this isn't a very good look. Gi Nancheng, don't think just because your Gu family has some influence around here, you can deceive my daughter. This is our Bai family's private business. He looked at Bai Wei, who was well shielded behind me, then looked at my cold eyes.
Weighing the pros and cons.
He suppressed his urge to take her away by force. Gi Nancheng, listen to me carefully. If you dare let her suffer even the slightest grievance, my Bai family, even if I have to risk my old life,
Will absolutely not let you off.
With that, Bai Chengfeng glared at Bai Wei with heavy footsteps. Bai Chengfeng, filled with anger and helplessness, flicked his sleeves and left, disappearing at the end of the corridor. Watching Bai Chengfeng disappear at the end of the corridor, I led Bai Wei into the house and locked the door. Bai Wei was still a bit upset, quietly going into the kitchen to pour some water. I sat on the sofa, my brows furrowing even tighter. Bai Chengfeng's heartbroken expression just now, that posture of a father determined to protect his daughter, made an extremely unreasonable feeling rise in my heart. That's not right. Back then, he could heartlessly abandon his wife and child, not asking about them for over 10 years, not even showing up when Li Fengji went mad. Why would he suddenly run to my door today, acting so concerned about his daughter's well-being? I suppressed my doubts and casually turned on the computer screen connected to the cameras. As soon as the screen lit up, my pupils shrank. It's that chubby guy, the slightly chubby man with drooping eyes, who appeared on the camera last night, was now appearing on the lawn downstairs again. He was hiding behind a utility pole, sneaking peeks at my window. There is a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it, delivering yourself right to my door. I'm definitely going to skin you alive today. I immediately grabbed my phone and called Jiang Yan. His house isn't far from here. Jiang Yan, bring your gear and come downstairs to my place.
There is a tail.
Help me block him from both ends. Don't let him escape. 5 minutes later, Jiang Yan arrived panting at the other end of the alley. I signaled him, and the two of us, like a pincer, charged straight at the chubby guy from left and right.
Whoa.
Just as he was about to run, Jiang Yan blocked his escape route. I closed in from behind, kicking him right in the back of the knee. The chubby guy let out a miserable cry and fell to his knees. I took the opportunity to twist his arm behind his back, pressing his face hard against the rough wall. You've been tailing us for 2 days. Speak. Who sent you? Ouch. Spare me, boss. It's breaking. It's breaking. I didn't do anything. Didn't do anything? Then what are you doing? Snooping around here? Tell the truth, or I'll knock all your teeth out today.
Ill talk.
3 days ago, a woman wearing a mask came looking for me.
What did she tell you to do?
Commit a crime or kidnap someone. Were you the one following us on the street this morning too? No, boss. I wouldn't dare do anything illegal like that. The employer just gave me your photos and address. She told me to keep an eye on you every day, record what time you leave, and what time you come home. And if there are any other adults in the house, I swear, I absolutely did not follow you on the street. I'm only responsible for sitting at the gate of this residential area, just logging the times. What did she look like? I really don't know who she is. After she gave me the money, she never showed up again. She didn't even leave a contact number. Boss, I'm just trying to make a living here. I'll give you the deposit back. Please, just let me go. I stared straight into the fat guy's eyes. 10 years of criminal investigation experience told me he wasn't lying. He was really just a low-level informant, being used by someone else. The trail had gone cold once again. I let go, letting the fat guy scramble out of the alley. Jiang Yan was cursing beside me, but I just felt an unprecedented sense of frustration and exhaustion. The stalker on the street this morning.
Wasn't this fat guy?
Nor was it Ye Zi, who had already moved away. The real killer was still like an invisible ghost, hiding flawlessly without a single trace. And the person who hired the fat guy, just to figure out our schedule. That meant the enemy was planning an extremely meticulous operation. After seeing Jiang Yan off, I went back inside alone. Bai Wei was already asleep. I collapsed onto the sofa in exhaustion, rubbing my aching temples. I looked up. Eat the surveillance monitor on the wall. The first floor entrance, outside the windowsill, the main road of the complex. Everything was normal. Wait a minute. My eyes suddenly locked onto screen number 2. That was the infrared camera installed diagonally above the front door, responsible for monitoring the blind spot in the hallway. Yesterday, when I installed and adjusted it myself, the bottom right corner of the screen could clearly capture the red metal fire extinguisher cabinet. But now, the image was shifted to the left by about 15 degrees. The fire extinguisher had completely disappeared from the screen, replaced by a massive blind spot at the edge of the doorframe. My blood completely froze at that moment. Someone had messed with my camera. This definitely wasn't caused by the wind. The camera was firmly screwed into the wall. Just now, when Jiang Yan and I were downstairs catching the fat guy, we were only gone for about 10 minutes. In those short 10 minutes, someone had sneaked up to my front door, professionally dodged the main lens, and used physical force to change the camera's angle, deliberately creating a surveillance blind spot. The real devil was lurking in the shadows, and had just been right outside my door. I sat alone on the living room sofa, staring at the shifted camera that created the blind spot on the screen. My brain quickly pieced together everything that happened today. The strange fat guy during the day, the dusty handprint outside the window, the sneaky shadow at night, and now the person who silently turned the camera. Connecting all these actions, the person I suspected the most was still Ye Zi, with that massive contrast in his behavior. Just as I was frowning, pondering the motive, knock, someone suddenly knocked on the front door. I cautiously opened the door. The person standing outside was unexpectedly Jiang Yan, who had just left.
What are you doing back here?
Bro, I just forgot. This morning, Ye Zi asked me to return these 2 things to you.
Oh, what are they?
He asked me to give these 2 things back to you. He also specifically told me to pass on a message. He said that last night. He actually came downstairs to your place, wanting to return them to you in person. And thank you for always helping him. But it was too late last night, and he didn't want to disturb your rest, so he just stood outside for a bit and then left. Hearing Jiang Yan's words, my head started buzzing. Ye Zi showing up outside the window at 1 a.m. was really just to return some stuff. His whole family moving away was real. He absolutely wasn't following me on the street, and he definitely didn't have the time to come turn my camera. My suspicions about Ye Zi were completely cleared at this moment. The only lead was cut off once again. I slumped back onto the sofa, falling into extreme confusion and despair. If it wasn't Ye Zi, then who the hell turned the camera? Who else is secretly watching me? Just as I was hitting a dead end, Zhang Yan suddenly pulled out his phone next to me, found a photo, and shoved it in front of my face. Oh, right, bro. I've been meaning to ask you. The guy in this photo, did your family pay to hire a secret bodyguard for you? I keep seeing him hovering around you. Just now, when I was in the alley catching that fat guy, I saw him loitering outside your complex again. I snapped my head up and took the phone. The photo was secretly taken at a street corner. In the picture was a man wearing a baseball cap, only showing his back from an angle. I stared intently at the photo of the back on Zhang Yan's phone, and without any hesitation, I immediately grabbed my own phone, took a picture of the photo, and sent it straight to my mom. Right after, I called her. Hello, Mom. The guy in this photo. Did our family arrange for him? The other end of the line went silent for 2 seconds. Then came my mom's extremely surprised voice.
Son, how did you spot him?
That's a retired mercenary that your dad spent a fortune to hire. You're living alone, and we really couldn't stop worrying. So we specifically hired him to be responsible for secretly protecting your safety. Has been following you for a while now. I didn't expect you to find out. Hearing the words retired mercenary, my tense nerves jolted. Hez just checking to see if there's any danger around you. Hez not spying on your life. If you feel uncomfortable, we can tell him to pull back. No need! It's just that recently, at the living room window where Baiwei is staying, I found some unusual footprints, so I felt like there was danger. Hez monitoring my safety, so why would he go to the living room window? Didn't you say before that Baiwei would be staying in our living room? I thought it'd ask him to help check if the living room window was secure and if the security bars were safe. Mom, send me his contact number. Hanging up the phone, a phone number was quickly sent to my device. Damn, is he really a bodyguard your family hired? And a mercenary at that? Bro, your family's security level is seriously overkill. I ignored Zhang Yan's exclamation, my eyes glued to the string of numbers on the screen. My brain was spinning. A retired mercenary. If that was the case, then all these bizarre occurrences had the most logical explanation. The dusty handprint outside the window, and the camera that was shifted earlier, it was highly likely that this mercenary, while checking the surrounding security, or deliberately avoiding my counter-surveillance equipment, had left those traces behind. The clues seemed to have come full circle at this moment. The traces I thought I had grasped seemed to have all vanished now. I had to contact this mercenary immediately to confirm if the handprint on the window and the moved camera were his doing. I took a deep breath and dialed the number my mom sent. The phone only rang once before it was picked up. Hello, young master. Uncle Dao, right? The handprint on the living room window and the shifted camera at the door.
Was that you?
Ha ha ha, young master. Your counter-surveillance skills are truly excellent. I see your vigilance is even better than some of the rookies I've trained. Young master, this afternoon when I was checking the surrounding security risks, I noticed the screws on the security bars of your living room were all rusted and loose. They could be pried off with just a little force. I went ahead and replaced them all with high-strength titanium alloy screws. I even intentionally aged them and rubbed some dust on them. I didn't expect the dust on my gloves to leave a mark on the glass. As for the camera at the door, your original angle was fine for anti-theft, but against an intruder, there was a 1-second visual blind spot on the side. So I just adjusted it for you. All right, I get it. Uncle Dao, thanks for your hard work. After hanging up, I tiptoed into the living room. Baiwei was sleeping soundly, breathing evenly. I walked over to the window, and under the faint light from outside, carefully inspected the edges of the security bars. Sure enough, the screws that looked rusted had all been replaced with extremely sturdy new materials, just with their surfaces disguised very well. I let out a long sigh of relief. There was no pervert, no professional killer. All these terrifying, ghostly occurrences turned out to just be my family's high-end bodyguard, eliminating security threats. However, after this final tension was lifted, what followed was an overwhelming sense of exhaustion and a profound confusion that could drown a person. I sat wearily on the sofa, looking at the empty room. The fat guy was just a hired hand. The trail went cold. Yeezy had moved away. Suspicions completely cleared. Li Gang had a perfect alibi. The fugitive serial killer also had nothing to do with the murder in my past life. All the clues had been cut off. The culprit from that stormy night, who ruthlessly snatched Bai Wei's knife and took her life, was still like a formless ghost, hiding perfectly in the vast sea of people. This feeling of powerlessness, like punching cotton, combined with the extreme tension of the past 2 days and the chill from getting drenched in the rain last night, finally, at this moment, completely shattered my body's defenses. I felt my vision start to blur, everything around me spinning. My stomach was churning, my throat dry and burning like fire. I tried to stand up to pour a glass of water, but my legs turned to jelly, and I crashed hard onto the sofa, completely losing consciousness. I felt like I was falling into a furnace. The bloody, stormy night of my past life. And Bai was pale face, constantly intertwined, tormenting me in my dreams. Nan Cheng, wake up. In my daze, a gentle, anxious voice kept echoing in my ears. My forehead suddenly felt a cool, soothing sensation struggling to suppress the fire surging within me. I struggled to open my heavy eyes, and as my vision focused, I saw Bai Wei's small face full of worry, even looking a bit pale. Nan Cheng, you're finally awake. You scared me to death.
Why is your fever so high?
I parted my lips, only to find my throat so hoarse I couldn't speak. I tried to sit up, but realized I was lying in bed, in the master bedroom, covered with a thick blanket, a cold towel resting on my forehead. I'm fine. I probably just caught a cold last night. A cold. You were at 103 degrees. When I woke up this morning, you were collapsed on the couch. I couldn't wake you up no matter how much I called you.
You were burning up.
Drink some water to soothe your throat. I already asked our homeroom teacher for a day off. We're staying home to rest today. The warm water flowed down my parched throat, bringing back a little life into me. I watched her bustling about. She had dark circles under her eyes. It was obvious that after finding out I had a fever, she had been keeping watch by my bed, never leaving my side. Take this fever medicine. She fed the pills into my mouth. If your fever doesn't go down by this afternoon, we're going to the hospital for an IV. Then, she wrapped both her hands tightly around mine. Nan Cheng, don't be afraid. Even though I don't know what you're so worried about, it's my turn to take care of you now. Just get some sleep. I'm not going anywhere.
He'll be right here watching over you?
Looking into her unwavering eyes and feeling the warmth of her hands, my tightly wound nerves finally truly relaxed. Under the effects of the medicine and the fever, I closed my eyes again and drifted off to sleep. In my dreams, I returned to my past life. A colleague greeted me enthusiastically. Old Goo. There's a breakthrough in that case you've been following. It's an acquaintance. We caught them. Go take a look. I hurriedly asked who it was, but a flash of white light blinded me, and I woke up. When I woke up again, the sky outside the window had turned dark. The evening glow slipped through the curtains, casting a warm reddish-orange hue across the bedsheets. My body felt much less achy, and my forehead was no longer burning. I slightly turned my head, and suddenly saw Bai Wei, asleep, slumped over the edge of the bed. She looked exhausted, with faint dark circles under her eyes. Her hand was still tightly gripping the cold towel she used to bring down my fever, sending a chill down my spine, as if sensing the change in my breathing. She jolted awake like a startled little deer. Thank goodness, your fever finally broke. Nan Cheng, are you hungry? I have some plain porridge warming in the pot. Go get it for you. There is no rush. Stay with me for a bit. I held her hand tightly, feeling the real warmth from her palm. I greedily clung to the pulse on her wrist, seeing her so vibrant and perfect right in front of me. An unprecedented, overwhelming sense of panic suddenly coiled tightly around my heart like a venomous snake. This was the first time since my rebirth that I felt so terrified. I was afraid this was all just a long dream, afraid that once I found the killer and completely changed her tragic ending, once everything was done, this rebirth that broke the laws of time would come to an end. Would I be dragged back to that cold timeline where only her tombstone remained? I selfishly wanted time to stop at this very moment forever. As long as I didn't investigate, as long as I hid her in this safe room, protected by security cameras, could we just stay like this and live a peaceful life? But looking at her unreserved trust in me, I suddenly gritted my teeth. Nan Cheng, what's wrong?
Are you feeling dizzy again?
I'm fine. My head is just a bit clearer now. I'm a little hungry. Okay, lean back here and don't move. Go get it for you. We need to take your temperature again after you eat. Watching Bai Wei obediently walk out of the bedroom and close the door behind her, the gentleness on my face instantly vanished. Replaced by extreme coldness and resolve, I gripped my phone tightly, my knuckles turning white from the force. A sudden realization struck my mind like lightning. The retired mercenary, Uncle Dao. If my mom said, Uncle Dao had been secretly protecting me for a while, then on that stormy Friday night last week, he must have been nearby too. That night, Bai Wei came knocking on my door, drenched in the rain. Then she left and died in that dark alley. In this life, even though she coincidentally hid in my house, the monster lurking in the shadows, the one who intended to harm her, must have been following her all along. It's highly likely he tracked Bai Wei all the way to the bottom of my apartment building. If that's the case, then Uncle Dao, who is secretly protecting me, with eyes that had witnessed countless life and death battles, would definitely have noticed the tail following Bai Wei without any hesitation. I quickly found the unsaved number and hit dial. The phone barely rang half a time before the other end picked up. Uncle Dao, it's me. Young master, are you feeling better? Do you have any orders? Uncle Dao, last Friday night during the heavy rain, around 9:30. A soaking wet girl came knocking on my door. You must have been keeping watch around my apartment then, right? Yes. I was on the roof of the building opposite yours, checking the blind spots. I saw that girl knocking on your door. Then did you happen to notice any suspicious person following behind her? Or in other words, did anyone track her near my place or even secretly observe her? After asking this question, I felt the air around me freeze. The other end of the line went silent for a moment, with only a faint static sound. buzzing in my eardrum. The static lasted for only 2 seconds, before Uncle Dao's deep voice rang out. Young master, there was indeed someone. Boom. My heart felt like it had been struck by a sledgehammer, and my blood instantly boiled. It was raining heavily that night. The person was wearing a long black raincoat and a mask. They were walking about 50 meters behind, keeping a steady distance following that girl, until they saw the girl enter your apartment building. That person stood under the streetlight across the street for about 2 or 3 minutes, then turned and left. After that, this person didn't show up again. In my past life, Bai Wei didn't enter my house, so this monster had the chance to strike in the alley. But in this life, because Bai Wei hid in my house, she completely escaped the killer's sight. So, he could only stand in the rain, watching his prey slip away, and helplessly give up. Uncle Dao, did you get a clear look at his face? Is it possible to find out who this person is? The rain was too heavy, and the streetlights were dim. The person was completely covered up, so I really couldn't see their face clearly. But even though I didn't chase after them, I clearly remember which alley they turned into. When they left, young master, as long as he passed through there, he definitely left a trace. Uncle Dao, I want to find out who he is. Hanging up the phone, I took a deep breath, hiding all the murderous intent in my eyes. The bedroom door was gently pushed open. Nan Cheng, the porridge is ready. It's the perfect temperature. Seeing her gentle, quiet demeanor in that apron, the frantic rage in my heart from being so close to the truth was instantly soothed. The doctor said your stomach is still weak after a fever, so you should eat something light to line your stomach first. You've been taking care of me this whole time? Have you eaten? I had a small bowl in the kitchen already. Hurry up and eat.
Stop talking.
Oh man, this sick patient doesn't even have the strength to lift his arms. I guess I'll have to bother my lovely nurse to spoon-feed me. Bai Wei shot me a reproachful look. In this warm bedroom, all the schemes and murderous intent outside seemed to be completely shut out. The next morning, I walked Bai Wei to school and asked Uncle Dao to secretly escort her. When the door closed, and I was sure Bai Wei was far away, the gentleness in my eyes instantly vanished. I quickly changed into an all-black outfit, put on a baseball cap, and headed out. Half an hour later, I met up with Uncle Dao in the alley behind an internet cafe, near the crime scene.
Young master, here is all the footage.
From private security cameras in that area from last Friday night. It took me all night to copy everything.
Thanks for your hard work, Uncle Dao.
Uncle Dao and I intently watched the videos, even though it was a bit blurry due to the heavy rain. The moment that person passed under the streetlight, their silhouette was revealed. Looking at the height and gait on the screen, I quickly sifted through my memories. Faces of people I had met flashed rapidly through my mind. Very quickly, a name popped into my head. Lin Qianhai. There is no mistake. This height and build, it's definitely him. Lin Qianhai, the biological younger brother of Lin Xia, Bai Wei's stepmother. At dusk, the sound of keys jingled at the door. Bai Wei walked in wearing her backpack. Seeing me sitting on the couch, she quickly walked over. Nan Cheng, are you feeling better? Is your head still dizzy? I'm fine now. The fever is completely gone. Don't worry.
That's good.
I was worried sick at school today. I was afraid no one would be here to take care of you while you were home alone. We cuddled on the couch for a bit, enjoying this peaceful moment. Then I dropped my smile and looked into her eyes. Bai Wei, I have something to do and need to head out. It'll probably take about 2 days. You're leaving for 2 days. But you just recovered. It's fine. Just some personal business I need to take care of. I'll be back soon. Be a good girl and wait for me at home these next 2 days. I'll be back soon. Be a good girl and wait for me at home these next 2 days. Don't go anywhere, okay? Okay, I'll wait for you at home. Make sure you stay safe out there. Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Dark clouds gathered thickly outside, and soon after, the rain poured down. Bai Wei was afraid of thunderstorms, so she was currently curled up on the couch, wrapping herself tightly in a thin blanket. As for me, I was inside an abandoned building in Zhongcheng,
wearing a mask and a voice changer.
I stood in front of a blindfolded young man, with his hands tied behind his back. His name was Lin Qianhai, the target of my investigation these past few days. He had a habit of jogging every morning, so I took the opportunity to bring him here. In my past life as a cop, I had to abide by the law, but now to quickly dig out the truth, I had to use some special methods. My family doesn't have any money. Please let me go. I swear I won't call the cops. If I were after money,
what use would kidnapping you be?
Now I ask and you answer. The fact that I caught you so easily proves I know everything about you. Don't try anything funny. I pressed a cold glass bottle gently against his neck. In the terrifying darkness, he instantly trembled like a leaf. Just ask. Whatever I know.
It'll tell you everything.
Think carefully. Half a month ago on a stormy Friday night.
What were you doing?
Not giving him a specific time was meant to increase the psychological pressure on him. Sure enough, he frantically recalled, stammering that he had invited a girl named Zhao Yu over to do homework until the evening. If a few drops of something were to fall on this face of yours, it would definitely look very different, wouldn't it? No, don't.
Ill talk. Ill talk.
I did invite a girl over that afternoon, but I went out that night. Went out to do what? To follow a girl. You left a girl at your house, just to go out in the rain and follow another girl. Give me a reason to believe you. It's true. My sister asked me to do it.
Lin Qianhai's sister
Was the current wife of Bai Chengfeng, Lin Xia. I immediately used his fingerprint to unlock his phone and searched for the chat history from that day. Sure enough, the history clearly showed that Lin Xia had told Lin Qianhai to leave the girl at his house, immediately go downstairs to wait, and follow Bai Wei as she left their house. Before this, I couldn't understand
Why Lin Qianhai
would invite a girl over and then head out into the rain. It was an incredibly baffling move. Now, everything made sense in the chat history. Lin Qianhai had followed Bai Wei all the way to my apartment building. After finding out Bai Wei had entered a guy's house, Lin Xia told him to wait a few minutes. When Bai Wei didn't come out, she told him to go home. That meant, on that stormy night in my past life, Lin Qianhai's tracking ended the moment Bai Wei knocked on my door. It was completely over. But if Lin Qianhai was only responsible for following her and didn't do anything malicious, then what exactly happened to Bai Wei in my past life? According to the autopsy report from my past life, Bai Wei's clothes were disheveled, but there were no signs of a struggle, strangulation, or restraint on her body. This indicated that she wasn't sexually assaulted and didn't fight back. The murder weapon was the knife Bai Wei had brought herself. The only possibility was that Lin Xia went to find Bai Wei afterward, and the two got into an argument. Given her strong controlling nature and her rejection of her husband's ex-wife's daughter, it's highly likely their conversation broke down, ultimately leading to a sudden outburst of violence. Reaching this deduction, even though I still lacked decisive direct evidence, the picture of the truth was becoming clear. At the very least, the lead on Lin Qianhai had come to an end. Get lost. Don't look back, or else you know what the consequences will be. Lin Qianhai scrambled away, as if granted a pardon, crawling and stumbling as he fled the abandoned building. I went up to the rooftop alone, letting the freezing rain pour down on me. The cold water quickly cleared my head. The purpose of my rebirth was first to find the killer, and second, to protect Bai Wei from getting hurt again. Right now, Bai Wei is safe at my house. As long as I try to keep her from meeting Lin Xia in the future, the potential danger will be gone. As for the killer, the target is locked onto Lin Xia, but I'm still missing direct evidence. Result-wise, I've successfully changed Bai Wei's fate. But what if the killer is someone else? At that very moment, rumble, a bolt of lightning tore through the sky. The flash instantly illuminated the entire city. The next second, my vision went dark, followed by a series of bizarre shifting lights. When I regained my senses, I saw Bai Wei standing next to me, though I didn't know when she got there. Not standing, but floating. Am I dreaming again? I stared at the scene in astonishment. The Bai Wei right now looked exactly the same as when I saw her in my dreams. Back when I was a cop in my past life, she always had a faint smile, but her face carried a heartbreaking sorrow. She just quietly looked at me, without saying a word. Seeing this familiar Bai Wei appear, I almost thought I had time traveled back again. I immediately looked around and realized I wasn't on the police station rooftop, but standing outside my own front door. Just as I was feeling bewildered, the next second, a soaking wet girl slowly walked toward us. Water dripped from the ends of her hair into her collar. She wrapped her arms around herself and slowly walked up to my door. Standing right next to her, I was shocked to realize that the Bai Wei from the past who had just appeared didn't seem to see me. I turned my head in confusion, looking at the ghost of Bai Wei floating beside me. She just gave me an emotionless glance, then turned her gaze toward her past self. Seeing this, I also turned back and looked at the drenched Bai Wei in front of me. She stood at the door but didn't ring the bell immediately. She hesitated, seemingly debating something in her mind. After a long while, she slowly raised her hand but stopped right before touching the doorbell. After hesitating once more and taking a deep breath, she finally gathered the courage to ring the bell. As the ding-dong echoed, her whole body trembled. She quickly pulled her hand back and hugged herself tightly, looking both embarrassed and flustered. Not long after, the door opened. The person who opened it was the past me. This was the first time I was looking at my past self. From a third-person perspective, I didn't know if this was a dream or what. But either way, I was standing right there, and neither my past self nor the Bai Wei in front of me could see me. I didn't overthink it, and just quietly observed. Just like in my memory, Bai Wei asked to stay over. Back then, because I was too young and afraid my parents would find out and scold me, I didn't dare casually let a girl in a thin white shirt stay at my house. I thought she was in trouble and didn't have money to go home, so I offered to walk her back. I turned around to grab a raincoat and an umbrella. But the moment I turned my back, Bai Wei looked hesitant, then sadly turned and walked away. Seeing this, I ignored my past self, who was looking for an umbrella inside, and immediately chased after her, because I knew exactly what I was doing back then. But I had absolutely no idea what Bai Wei went through. that night after being rejected. Even if this was just a dream now, I wanted to see how the dream would recreate what she experienced. I chased after Bai Wei and saw a bewildered girl who didn't know where to go. She didn't want me to know about her difficult family situation, so she didn't dare let me take her home. But after refusing my good intentions,
where was she supposed to go?
The world was so vast, yet she had nowhere to belong.
Mom, Dad.
The places she considered her home in her heart seemingly had no place for her. She wandered to the front of a convenience store, and her stomach suddenly growled. Remembering she hadn't eaten anything since noon, she dug out her last bit of money and bought a piece of bread and a carton of milk. For dinner, the convenience store clerk saw her drenched like a drowned rat, kindly got her a towel to dry off, and when she left, even generously handed her an umbrella. Just return it next time you pass by. With the rain this heavy, it's not good for a girl's health to be out in the rain so much. Bai Wei tried to decline, but could only thank the clerk for his kindness. She opened the umbrella and was just about to leave when she accidentally spotted a familiar figure. She looked over and saw Yizi being cornered and beaten by 3 thugs in an alley. After a moment of hesitation, she bravely walked over. Stop it right now. If you keep bullying him, I'm calling the cops. She frantically searched for her phone, only to remember that her mom had smashed it before she left. Seeing the girl rummage through her pockets and come up empty. Looks like the little lady forgot her phone at home, huh? Hey, beautiful, if you want us to stop beating him up, that's fine. Then you stay with us instead. Just as the 3 of them were approaching Bai Wei, Yizi, who had been silently taking the beating, without fighting back, suddenly struggled to his feet and blocked Bai Wei. She has nothing to do with this. Hurry up and leave. You want to leave now? Too late?
Grab her.
Seeing the 2 of them about to grab Bai Wei, Yizi, who had always been so enduring, suddenly snapped. A loud, angry person isn't scary, but a quiet, gentle person who gets pushed to the brink and loses control is truly terrifying. Yizi lunged at the 3 of them like a mad dog, taking their punches and kicks, but using his entire body and every possible part of it to attack. One thug had his arm bitten hard by Yizi, wincing in pain. The next second, Yizi targeted the guy next to him, refusing to let go no matter how much they hit him. He almost bit a chunk of flesh right off the guy's arm. It wasn't until the guy fell to his knees begging in pain that Yizi finally let go. Seeing his 2 buddies bitten so badly, the blonde leader got scared too. The gentle fear the ruthless, and the ruthless fear the reckless. This kid was an absolute psycho. The 3 of them could only drop a vicious threat before hurriedly running away. I knew these 3 had knives on them, but they only wanted to intimidate. They didn't have the guts to actually use them. Yizi's recklessness had completely scared the living daylights out of them. It was then that I finally realized the injuries on Yizi's body that I saw at school in my past life were indeed from protecting Bai Wei. Seeing the 3 of them run off, exhausted Yizi ignored the pouring rain and collapsed into a muddy puddle. Are you okay? I'm fine.
Thanks. We're classmates. No need to be so polite.
You protected me just now. So we're even. Bai Wei gave a gentle smile and tried to help him up. Yizi looked at her outstretched hand, probably feeling self-conscious about his muddy hands, so he didn't take it. Instead, he pushed himself off the ground and stood up. He walked over to the trash can, picked up his dropped backpack, and opened it to check that the clean handkerchief inside was still there. Only then did he feel relieved. Your umbrella is broken.
You can use mine.
But this umbrella belongs to the convenience store over there. Remember to return it when you're done. If I use this umbrella, what about you? It's fine. I want to walk in the rain for a bit, so I don't need an umbrella. Yizi was perceptive and quickly noticed something was off about her. Are you upset about something? It's nothing.
Just family stuff.
Seeing that it was a family matter, Yizi didn't feel it was his place to ask more. But how could he bear to take a girl's umbrella and let her walk in the rain? Just as he was hesitating, Bai Wei shoved the umbrella straight into his hands. Then she dashed headlong into the thick, dark mist. Very quickly, her figure disappeared into the distance, left with no choice. Yizi had to take the umbrella and head home. It was then that I finally understood. No wonder there was no convenience store umbrella. At the crime scene, she had given it to Yizi. In the rain, besides Bai Wei walking blindly alone up ahead, I saw another figure, Lin Qianhai. He was trying to dodge the surrounding cameras, weaving through the rain, tailing closely behind Bai Wei. Because I had already interrogated Lin Qianhai and knew he was following her, I wasn't surprised at all. What I was most curious about right now was what exactly happened. At the crime scene, I turned my head to look at the silent ghost beside me. The ghost of Bai Wei and I walked closely together, following the past Bai Wei, who was walking like a soulless corpse. The freezing rain soaked her entire body, but she seemed to have lost all feeling. Aimless, not knowing where to go. I didn't know when, but she had wandered into the old town district, which had absolutely no effective surveillance cameras covering the area. Finally, she dazedly walked under an abandoned awning, staring blankly at the pouring rain in front of her. lost in thought. At this moment, standing next to the floating ghost of Bai Wei, from an outsider's perspective, I observed everything unfolding before my eyes. I saw Lin Qianhai hiding in the shadows, typing furiously on his phone. I didn't even need to look to know. He was definitely reporting Bai Wei's whereabouts to Lin Xia. It seemed Lin Xia would be showing up soon. My mind had already started picturing the impending conflict. Next, the people who left no trace on this rainy night appeared, one by one. I saw Jiang Yan peeling an apple in a nearby garage. He took a phone call and hurriedly left, casually slipping the knife into his pocket. There really wasn't a second knife at the scene. A wandering delivery guy rushed past. The perverted, sleazy neighbor in a raincoat sneaked into an adult toy store. After buying a few small items, he quickly left. People came and went all around, while Bai Wei just stood blankly under the awning, like a little statue that had lost its soul. The world was so vast, yet she didn't know where to go. Since she didn't know where to go, her feet naturally couldn't take a step. I don't know how much time passed, but a figure in a raincoat appeared nearby. This figure wasn't tall, even somewhat petite. Just as Bai Wei was lost in a daze, this figure slowly walked up to her. The faint light was suddenly blocked, and Bai Wei immediately looked up.
Yaxi. I was completely stunned.
I had thought Lin Qianhai was contacting Lin Xia, but I never expected that the person who showed up here would be Bai Yaxi, Bai Wei's half-sister, the daughter born to Bai Chengfeng and Lin Xia.
Why her?
My mind was full of questions. I had never considered the possibility that this little girl would appear at the crime scene, but very quickly, fragmented information about her flashed through my mind. Bai Yaxi was naturally brilliant, skipped grades, and had outstanding academic performance. In other words, she had a highly intelligent and precocious mind. I had completely overlooked her before because of her age. Now it seemed, it was highly likely she had impersonated her mother to order Lin Qianhai around to do her bidding. But could a little girl like her really get into a conflict with Bai Wei, severe enough to cause such a tragic outcome? I figured with the state you're in today, you definitely wouldn't have a home to go back to. Bai Wei had never held any malice toward this younger sister, but she knew very well that this sister had disliked her since they were little. But no matter how much she disliked her, it shouldn't have been to the point of chasing her down in the rain in the middle of the night. You ran all the way out here in the middle of the night.
Just to say that.
Of course not. I came here to make a few things clear to you. Don't come to my house anymore. My mom and I both dislike you. You already have your own mom over there. So why do you keep coming here to steal my dad? In Bai Yaxi's eyes, there was a resentment far beyond her years. Just to say this, you had to run out in the middle of the night. Some things need to be said face to face, and I need to leave you with something tangible to prevent you from regretting it later. Bai Yaxi pulled a waterproof bag out of her raincoat pocket. I know you have nowhere to go right now. Here is 1,000 yuan. Take it. Then, sign this agreement to sever your father-daughter relationship. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. I finally understood. After Bai Yaxi found out about Bai Wei's desperate situation, she wanted to take advantage of it, using a sum of money to force Bai Wei to sign this absurd agreement, buying peace and quiet for the future. The reason she had Lin Qianhai follow her the whole way was to confirm if Bai Wei truly had no way out. Looking at the agreement Bai Yaxi handed over, Bai Wei let out a bleak, bitter smile. She never expected that. In a situation where she was already pushed to the brink, her own half-sister would come to kick her while she was down. The ultimate pain is when the heart turns completely cold. At this point, she couldn't care less about 1,000 yuan. She only cared about the pitiful shred of self-esteem she had left. I won't sign it. Bai Wei, stop living in a fantasy. Haven't you realized it yet? Realized what? Realized that Dad doesn't care about you at all. That he doesn't love you at all. Look at the weather today, with the rain this heavy. When you left our house, he didn't even say a single word to make you stay. Do you know what that means? It means that in his heart, this daughter doesn't exist at all. Bai Yaxi's cold words were like poisoned ice daggers, stabbing straight into Bai Wei's shattered heart. The phrase in his heart, you don't exist at all. During the days her mother was sick, had countless times, like a venomous snake, bitten and torn at her heart. But right now, on this stormy night, on the street where the whole world had abandoned her, hearing those words from her own blood sister, who stood there like a cruel victor, Bai Wei felt that deep within her mind, a certain string that had been struggling to hold on to. Her willpower completely snapped. All the despair from before enveloped her like a thick fog. The coldness of being shut out by her mother, the numbness of having nowhere to turn, the agony of her father's cold indifference. It was the sound of a breaking heart. In truth, Bai Wei understood all of this, but toward this broken family, she still harbored a sliver of stubborn hope. What kept her going to see her father was that deep within her soul. The last faint glimmer of light refused to go out. However, Bai Yaxi's words, along with that glaring severance agreement, were like a pair of cold hands, brutally crushing that final ray of light into the cold, muddy reality. The bitter smile on Bai Wei's face froze. She no longer argued back, no longer tried to explain. Any words right now would just be meaningless and ridiculous. she felt something inside her body, rapidly turning cold. She felt her heart being squeezed by an invisible hand.
A suffocating numbness.
And chill spreading to her limbs. The strength to stand seemed to be drained in an instant. She looked up at the calculating face of Bai Yaxi, whose features somewhat resembled their father's. Her eyes terrifyingly empty. "I'll take the money, but I won't sign the agreement." Her voice no longer held any resistance, only extreme exhaustion and calmness. "Does it even make a difference whether I sign it or not?" The little corner in her heart called Dad had become as cold as this rain, losing its last bit of warmth. Her heart had completely turned cold. Bai Wei, stop being so shameless. Seeing that Bai Wei still refused to yield even now, Bai Yaxi flew into a rage. Right at that moment, a cold glint flashed. Bai Wei pulled a cold fruit knife out of her pocket. It was the weapon for self-defense she had brought from her mother's house. At this moment, not only was Bai Yaxi terrified, but even Lin Qianhai, hiding in the shadows, gasped in fear. Bai Wei,
What? What are you trying to do?
you don't need to be afraid. I won't sign the agreement. If you want me to sever the relationship, then just finish me off yourself. Looking at the knife in Bai Wei's hand and hearing her drastic words, Bai Yaxi was stunned, but to be safe, she still quickly snatched the knife from Bai Wei's hand. At least this way, she had the upper hand. Seeing her sister take the knife, Bai Wei closed her eyes and spread her arms wide, in a posture of leaving herself at the mercy of others. But Bai Yaxi was just a little girl after all. How could she dare to actually do it? After waiting a few seconds and seeing no reaction from Bai Yaxi, Bai Wei suddenly gave her a cold smile. If you don't do it, then this relationship will never be severed. It's up to you. After saying that, Bai Wei turned and walked away. Staying with her sister for even one more second would only remind her of their father's absolute ruthlessness. Right now, she was just using the feeblest method to provoke this arrogant sister of hers. Bai Yaxi gripped the knife tightly, glaring at Bai Wei's retreating back. Her mind kept flashing back to the moment before she left. That cold, mocking smile. She was clearly a homeless loser. So what gave her the right to smile at her like that?
What gave her the right?
An irrational rage flared up in Bai Yaxi's heart. She clutched the knife and quickly chased after Bai Wei. Soon, the two of them entered a place where even the streetlights couldn't reach.
A pitch-black corner.
Bai Wei, stop right there. Bai Wei completely ignored her. This only made Bai Yaxi even more furious. She lunged forward, grabbed Bai Wei's shirt, and yanked her around. The violent pull caused Bai Wei's soaking wet shirt to instantly become a disheveled mess. Bai Yaxi was seething with anger. In the dark, pouring rain, Bai Wei looked expressionlessly, eyed her furious younger sister in front of her. She suddenly reached out, grabbed Bai Yaxi's wrist that was holding the knife, and forcefully pressed the sharp blade against her own neck. Figured it out, have you? If you've made up your mind, then just do it. The freezing rain fell on the back of Bai Yaxi's hand. Sliding down the blade, Bai Wei's icy fingers pressed tightly against her hand, forcing the blade into her own fragile carotid artery. Those eyes that once held a myriad of emotions were now left with nothing but dead silence, staring emptily through the rain into the void, as if waiting for the final judgment. Don't push me. I'm just giving you a choice. If you want choose, then go home. It's pouring out here. Bai Wei's words, which almost sounded like concern, sounded like the ultimate mockery to Bai Yaxi. What she wanted to see was Bai Wei's misery and submission, not this soul-eating calmness. Just as Bai Yaxi was being crushed by this immense psychological pressure, pushed to the brink of a breakdown, the knife in her hand almost slipping from her grasp, a dark silhouette suddenly lunged out from the shadows under the eaves. It was Lin Qianhai. He had been hiding in the dark all along because the light was so dim. He could only vaguely make out a cold knife pressed against a throat. In his panic, he assumed that it must be Bai Wei, that dangerous woman, threatening the niece he treasured like a jewel. Before Bai Yaxi could even process what was happening, Lin Qianhai charged out like a startled wild dog. He lunged forward with brute force. His goal was crystal clear: snatch the knife and pull Bai Yaxi away. But he never could have expected that his sudden collision would be the straw that broke the camel's back. Bai Yaxi, already on the verge of a breakdown, screamed in terror at the sudden appearance of the dark figure, instinctively using all her strength to break free from Bai Wei's grip. As for Bai Wei, the moment the figure lunged at them, her body instinctively reacted defensively, just as Bai Yaxi violently yanked her hand away. On the slippery road, Bai Wei, trying to keep her balance, almost subconsciously stumbled forward toward Bai Yaxi. A disastrous chain reaction unfolded. In her absolute panic, Bai Yaxi struggled wildly. Losing her balance, instinctively she pulled both arms inward,
trying to grab onto something.
But one of her hands was still holding the knife. Bai Wei slipped and fell forward. Lin Qianhai lunged forward with all his might, aiming for the hand holding the knife, and clamped down on it with a desperate grip. The combined force of all three people converged in an instant, and that sharp paring knife traced an incredibly short arc in the darkness. Thrust. The soft sound of tearing flesh was drowned out by the heavy rain. Time seemed to freeze. Lin Qianhei's hand finally managed to tightly grasp Bai Yaxi's hand that was holding the knife handle. He breathed a sigh of relief, thinking he had succeeded. Bai Yaxi's eyes widened in horror, her body going stiff, and Bai Wei, caught between the two of them, trembled slightly. She felt a sharp, cold, and fleeting pain. She looked down, seemingly a bit bewildered, but a moment later, that icy sensation was instantly replaced by a scorching heat, spreading wildly from her neck. The warm liquid quickly soaked through her freezing clothes. The shock in her eyes hadn't faded, but a deeper, more absolute sense of relief mingled with it. She didn't let out a single cry of pain. The strength in her body ebbed away like the receding tide, and she went limp, falling backward, crashing heavily onto the cold, waterlogged ground. The splashing water mixed with the dark red liquid that was rapidly spreading. Her eyes stared into the endless darkness, past Lin Qianhai's terrified, distorted face, past Bai Yaxi's bloodless expression, until they finally lost all their light. I didn't take the elevator when I came downstairs earlier. I sneaked out behind my parents' backs, so I deliberately took the stairs to avoid the cameras. When I go back, I just need to take the stairs again. The elevator will only have footage of me coming home in the afternoon. It suddenly dawned on me. No wonder during the investigation in my previous life, it seemed like no one from the Bai family had left the house. Bai Yaxi, in order to hide from her parents, deliberately avoided the cameras, which ironically became the key to her evading the police investigation. If she didn't have a premeditated plan to commit the crime.
Why avoid the cameras?
If she did have a premeditated plan, why was the murder weapon brought by the victim? These two circular logical contradictions, combined with the passerby attempting to commit an indecent act, the testimonies of those who had left, and the heavy rain destroying the crime scene, completely derailed the police's investigation. This was the entire truth behind the unsolved case of my previous life. The two people who committed the crime out of negligence both had alibis. Neither had any intention of committing murder. Neither had prepared a weapon. Under the cover of the heavy rain, this case, full of coincidences, became an almost unsolvable perfect crime. Watching the two of them leave, all that was left in my heart was a profound sorrow. Who was the real killer?
Was it Lin Qianhai or Bai Yaxi?
There was no conclusion. But before they even made a move, Bai Wei had already been pushed to a dead end.
What truly killed her
was her broken family. It was her indifferent father and her insane mother. Just as I was drowning in agonizing self-blame, suddenly a small cold hand gently touched my cheek. Feeling that icy touch on my cheek, I turned my head in a daze, only to see Bai Wei's spirit floating in midair, looking at me with an incredibly gentle and compassionate gaze. "Follow me. This is far enough," she finally spoke, that familiar voice that shook my heart, ringing so vividly in my ears once again after 10 years. It was just that her voice carried a sorrow that broke my heart.
Right now?
Am I dreaming right now? Or is this? Before I could finish my question, she raised a slender, jade-like finger and gently placed it against my lips. "It makes no difference. It's all in the past now." Is it really in the past? You've burdened yourself with a responsibility that wasn't yours. Shouldered a guilt you never should have borne. Every day I watched you torture yourself with this obsession for 10 years. It's time for it to end. You've investigated everything you needed to. The truth doesn't matter anymore, because before that knife even fell, my heart was already dead. My heart trembled. I finally understood how she felt at that moment. The ultimate agony is a heart that has turned to ash when the whole world had abandoned her. Whether her physical body survived or not, no longer mattered to her. That stab to her at that time was even a form of release. It's just that she never imagined that because I couldn't save her, I would turn this tragedy into a 10-year shackle, locking myself in guilt and regret. Now that you've let it go, I can finally leave in peace. This sin shouldn't be placed on your head, and you shouldn't have to bear it.
Cherish the present.
She is still waiting for you to come home. Don't chase the ghosts of the past, and ignore the person right in front of you who deserves to be cherished the most. Hearing those words, my whole body trembled. She was right. I was living in the obsession of the past. And to uncover the truth, I didn't even hesitate to walk the fine line of the law. If I kept going like this, I truly wouldn't be able to turn back. I looked at her ethereal, dream-like figure before me, unable to tell if this was a true encounter with her soul, or an illusion created by my subconscious to save myself. But whether it was real or fake, I had to give her a promise, so she could leave in peace. I figured it out. This matter is finally settled. Rest easy. I won't live in the past anymore. Hearing my promise, Bai Wei finally smiled a happy, serene smile. The next second, the cold, rainy night around us began to distort and fade away. When I woke up, it was already the next morning. The heavy rain had long since stopped. The bright sun hung high in the clear blue sky after the storm. I had slept deeply all night, and the moment I woke up, I felt the gloom in my heart completely vanish. The rain had passed, and the sky was clear. Everything around me looked so vivid. I looked around and realized I was still lying on the rooftop of the abandoned building from last night. There were puddles of water everywhere, but my clothes were surprisingly dry. I didn't know if the strong winds on the roof had dried them, or if it was some inexplicable miracle. I stood up and gazed out at the sun-drenched city in the distance. Whether it was a dream or reality, let it be. From that strange dream last night, I completely understood everything about my past life. Bai Wei's death was absolutely not an accident, nor was it inevitable. It was the devastation caused by her broken family, countless random moments of error, and absolute despair piling up on top of each other. That created the tragedy. As long as I'm here, I absolutely will not let this outcome repeat itself. When I got home, the house was quiet. I stepped softly into the living room, and at a glance, I saw Bai Wei wrapped in a thin blanket, curled up and fast asleep on the sofa. Last night's thunderstorm. She was afraid of the thunder, so instead of sleeping comfortably in her room, she curled up on the living room sofa. I knew she must have been waiting for me to come home. Watching her sleep so peacefully, feeling the weight of her reliance on me, I couldn't help but smile gently. I walked over and pulled the slip blanket back over her, before turning and heading to my own room. Having been out in the rain all night, I quickly took a shower, soaking in the hot tub, to drive the chill from my body. When I got dressed and returned to the living room, Bai Wei was still fast asleep. She must have stayed up very late last night,
worrying about me.
Seeing her sleeping so soundly, I couldn't bear to wake her up. The past is in the past. From today on, I will only live for this vibrant girl right in front of me.